2019, February 5 and 11, and March 10, 2020 are hereby dispensed with and the same is hereby approved. Welcome and good afternoon to all the members of the Committee on Energy and the resource persons and guests present in this afternoon's Committee on Energy virtual meeting. Today's agenda is the inquiry on the alleged spike in electricity bills during the enhanced community quarantine. The issue on the sudden spike of electricity bills during the ECQ has been in the news lately. Many electricity consumers are complaining about their shocking billing statements. Many question Meralco on how they came up with such computations, especially in some cases where the premises or businesses were closed and non-operational. The general public sentiment is that Meralco could be more considerate in this time of health emergency, where many have no work and no stable income or livelihood. During our committee meeting conducted on May 13, 2020, Vice Chairman Jericho Jonas Nograles raised the issue of high electricity bills and even requested Meralco to make a written explanation on the matter. I understand Meralco had already submitted its explanation to the committee and the members were provided copies already. May I also inform you that last week, Vice Chairman Jesus Bongsuntay sent me a letter requesting that the issue on high electricity bills be tackled in the JCEC, or the Joint Congressional Energy Commission's meeting conducted on May 22, 2020. We had informed Vice Chair Suntay that we will deliberate on the matter in the committee to address the concerns of electricity consumers. Vice Chairman Suntay expressed concern on the alleged spike of electricity bills as it already affected many people. With the present COVID-19 situation aggravated by the high electricity bills, people do not know where to turn to. They have no livelihood and no income because of the ECQ. Then here comes high electricity bills that shock the electricity consumers. This is the reason why this committee took cognizance of and decided to conduct this virtual meeting today on the said subject matter to enable us to better understand the basis, if any, for shockingly high electricity bills. We have invited resource persons from various agencies, particularly the Manila Electric Company or Meralco, to shed light on the matter. Last May 22, 2020, the Joint Congressional Energy Commission held a meeting to discuss the effects of COVID-19 on the energy sector. One of the discussions of the joint panel focused on the issue of Meralco high bills. During said JCEC hearing, this representation stressed the importance of transparency and providing a credible basis for the electricity charges. Given Meralco's admission that they were able to conduct actual meter readings on less than 1% of its entire coverage. I think it is only proper to bring the matter to the committee and deliberate thereon. This meeting will serve as a venue for the members to understand better the causes of the high bills and determine its impact on their constituents. The issue has to be addressed for the benefit of our electric consumers, even as the entire country is in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. But before we proceed with the meeting, may we acknowledge for the record the presence of the members and resource persons present in today's hearing. May I acknowledge for the record the presence of Honorable Sergio Dagoo, Honorable Virgilio Lacson, Honorable Adriano Ebcas, Honorable Eddie Bong Plaza, Deputy Majority Leader Bernadette Herrera D, Deputy Speaker Evelina Escudero, Vice Chairman Hector Sanchez, Vice Chairman Presley De Jesus, Vice Chairman Jericho Nograles, Honorable Jocelyn Tulfo, and Honorable Ria Vergara. And may I now request the committee secretary to acknowledge the resource persons. Comsec?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Your Honors, good afternoon po. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Yes, we have...
Yes, but before you proceed, Comsec,
yes, sir.
before you proceed, let me just add to the list. Also like to recognize the presence of Honorable Abdullah Dimaporo, Honorable Jawo Jimenez, and Honorable Sara Ilago. Please proceed, Comsec.
Yes, good afternoon again, Mr. Chairman, Your Honors. The following resource persons have confirmed their attendance and joining us in this virtual Committee on Energy meeting. From the Department of Energy, Secretary Alfonso Cosi and Director Mario Marasigan. But I was informed, Mr. Chairman, the Secretary has not joined us yet. From the Energy Regulatory Commission, Chairperson Agnes BST de Banadera, Attorney Florescenta Digal, Executive Director, and Attorney Tricia Marie Vela, Attorney 4. Also joining us is Engineer Alvin Jones Ortega, Chief of Tariffs and Rates Division, Regulatory Operations Service. From the National Transmission Corporation, or TRANSCO, we have Attorney Melvin Matibag, its President, and Ms. Dina Dizon. From the Philippine Electricity Market Corporation, we have Mr. Noel V. Abuboto, the Chairman, and Attorney Oscar E. Ala, the President. Also joining us are Mr. Clares Loren Halocon, Head of Corporate Planning and Communications, Attorney Marian Penosa S. De La Fuente, Head of Legal, Attorney Hazel Gubaton Lopez, Head of Enforcement and Compliance Office, John Mark S. Catrice, OIC Market Assessment Group, and Mr. John Mark S. Catrice, OIC Market Assessment Group. From the Independent Electricity Market Operator of the Philippines, we have Mr. Robinson P. Descanso, is Chief Operating Officer, and Attorney Rachel Angela Anosan, Head Legal Department. From the Manila Electric Company, we have Attorney Jose Ronald V. Valles, First Vice President and Head Regulatory Management, and Mr. Victor S. Genuino, First Vice President and Head Customer Retail Services and Corporate Communications. From the Philippine Electric Plant Owners Association, or PEPOA, we have its President, Attorney Ranolfo Ocampo. From the Philippine Rural Electric Cooperatives Association, or PhilReca, we have its Executive Director, Attorney Janine Kulingan. From the Philippine IPP Association, we have its President, Attorney Ann Montelibano, and Miss Cherry Javier. And from Bayan Muna, we have former Congressman Nery J. Colmenares. That's all, Mr. Chairman, Your Honors. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Comsec, and good afternoon to all the resource persons. May I also acknowledge and recognize the presence of Honorable Eliza Sheena Tan, Honorable Alfred Vargas, and Honorable Yul Servo. Thank you for attending. Okay, but before we proceed with the meeting proper, may I remind the members that interpellations will be entertained after all the statements or presentations have been made by the resource persons. Each committee member shall be given 5 minutes to interpellate. Kindly use the raise hand or chat functions of the Zoom app if you would like to interpellate. The Secretariat will take note of the sequence of members who raised hand or chatted according to who made it first. Just click your name on the participant's icon. The raise hand word can be found at the lower portion of your screen. Okay, so proceeding, may we start with Meralco, since they're the ones at the highlight of this Committee on Energy hearing. Can we ask Meralco to first give their presentation?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon. Please proceed.
Yes. First of all, we would like to thank the committee for this opportunity to explain the highway issue for the committee. And
excuse me, Mr. Valles. Sorry,
yes.
Before you proceed, I think there's a slight echo in your audio.
Okay na po, Mr. Chair.
Oh, yeah. Better.
Being late.
Hi.
May I proceed, Mr. Chair?
Welcome. Yes, but I'd just like to acknowledge the presence of Yusek Fentibel. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for the record, we filed already our letter in response to the Jericho Nograles last May 21. The letter was addressed to the Honorable Chair, Lord Alan Velasco, and all the members of the committee were furnished a copy of this letter. For purposes of today's hearing, Mr. Chair, I would like to refer you to to my colleague, the first vice president and head of our customer retail services for the presentation. This will be the same presentation we have shown to the JCEC last hearing. If you
Yes, please
allow.
proceed. Yes, please proceed.
Hello, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Good afternoon. We
Good
just like to
afternoon.
give the committee a presentation and a explanation with regards to the high bill customers have received for the month of May. Just to provide the committee a timeline on the events that led to this, the orange dot here represents Meralco, and the gray dot represents advisories that we received from the ERC. Noong March 16 po, naglabas ho ng government nag-impose ho ng enhanced community quarantine sa Luzon. Noong March 16 po, nag-provide ng 30-day payment extension ho ang Meralco for bills due from March 1 to April 14. Noong March 17 po, nag-instruct ang ERC na lahat ng DU sa Luzon ay kailangan mag-provide ng 30-day payment extension for bills due between March 15 to April 14. Noong March 20 po, nag-suspend ng meter reading and bill delivery activities ang Meralco. Nag-advise ho kami sa customers that bills are to be estimated based on an average past 3 months consumption in accordance with the distribution services and open access rules as prescribed by ERC, and adjustments will be made once actual meter reads are available. Sinabi rin namin ho sa advisory namin that customers will only pay for what they consumed. On March 21 po, sinara ho namin ang 56 business centers and extension offices ng Meralco. On March 26 po, naglabas ng 30-day payment extension advisory ulit ng ERC for all DUs for March 15 to April 14 bills, and utilization of estimated billing in accordance to this SOR can be implemented and bills are to be marked as estimated. On April 11 po, simulan ho ni Meralco na magsubok mag-meter read for our commercial and industrial customers. Noong April 15 po, nag-reiterate ang ERC that you can utilize estimated billing, and directed DUs the cumulative billings falling within ECQ may be paid in 4 monthly equal installments payable in succeeding billing months after ECQ. Noong April 27 po, nag-resume ng meter reading activities ang Meralco for our residential customers. Noong May 1 to 6, we started printing and delivery of March and April estimated bills. Noong May 7 po, nagbukas ho ulit ang a few of Meralco's business centers. To date ho, we have opened majority of our 56 business centers and extension offices already. Noong May 8 po, we started printing and delivery of May bills. And itong May 22 po, ang huling advisory ng ERC, instructing all DUs that bills covered by ECQ will be paid in 4 or 6 monthly installments no earlier than June 15, and all June billings will have a due date no earlier than June 30. Ang nakita po namin during the portions of ECQ and MECQ, may dalawang customer experiences po ang nangyayari. Ang scenario 1 ho ay customers who have experienced high consumption during ECQ. Ito ho yung mga nung natanggap nila yung May bill nila, nakita nila napakataas ng May bill nila. And the reasons that we see are the bills are estimated, underestimated for March and April. And this led to an increase in the May consumption when the meters were actually read. Ito ho yung mga bahay na may residente na nag-aaral sa bahay or yung mga nag-work from home who use more appliances for longer hours. Meron din ho mga customers with businesses na continuous ang operations during ECQ. May isa pa hong scenario kaming nakikita, customers with low or no consumption during ECQ. Ito naman ho, mga overestimated ang mga bills nila. Ito ho yung mga bahay na mas mababa or no residents leading to less consumptions. Ito ho yung mga nakatira sa mga rented condo na umuwi sa probinsya during ECQ as an example. Or businesses na may reduced or partial operations during ECQ. We'd like to explain ho and use this opportunity for the meeting to explain both scenarios and how the bill was computed. For scenario 1 po, ang estimated na ginawang billing is based on their December to February consumption. And most likely, this was low because actual consumption during this period is a lot lower than normally what customers consume between March to May. So pag nakita nyo ho yung pink line, this is a trend of a normal residential customer na mababa ang December, January, February, only to pick up during the hot summer months of March, April, May. Pero ang ginawa ho nating estimates for the month of March ay yung consumption ng customers during the period of December, January, and February when it was cooler. And ang ginawang basihan ho ng estimates for the month of April are for the months of January, February, and March. So if you compare ho the actual consumption of the customer during the periods of ECQ, it is actually a lot higher than what we estimated. Ang mga customers ho nito, since ginamit ho natin ang colder months for their estimation, these were underestimated. We would like to show the committee a sample bill. This is a bill for a typical 200 kilowatt-hour residential household customer. We would like to show 3 steps in a customer wanting to assess how his bill was computed. Ang first step po is kung makikita natin yung actual reading in May, meron po tayong amount 2,350. Pero ang actual reading ho na nangyari sa kanya previously was in February only, which is 1,600. So if you reduce 2,350 with 1,600, an actual reading ho ng kilowatt-hour consumption niya is 750 kilowatt-hours. Yan ho yung magre-register ho sa meter ng customer. The present reading minus the previous reading which only happened in Feb. Ang step 2 ho is we need to compute the March and April estimates. Marami hong nagtatanong sa mga customers ko ng Meralco, paano ba ko kinumpute ang estimation sa buwan ng Marso at ng Abril? Ang computation ho niyan is kukunin natin yung past 3 months consumption ng customer. In the case of March, that will be December, January, and February. And for the case of April, you will have to look at the months of January, February, and March. Pag titingnan ho natin sa chart dito, ang konsumo ng customer using these estimates for March will be 220 kilowatt-hours in December, plus 180 kilowatt-hours in January, plus 200 kilowatt-hours in February, divided by the number of bill days during those months, which are 31, plus 31, plus 31. You would get to this number and multiply it by 29 days, which is the number of bill days that is in March 2020. And you will get ho a number of 189 kilowatt-hours. Ganyan po in-estimate ang konsumo ng isang customer for the month of March. For the month of April ho, we would do the same. We will get the actual kilowatt-hour consumption of the customer in January, which is 180. We add ho 200 for the month of February, and then we add ho 189 kilowatt-hours, which is what was estimated in March. We divide that number by the number of bill days. In this case, it's 31 days in January, 31 days in February, and 29 days in March. You would then get that number and multiply that with the number of bill days that are available for the month of April, and you will get 194 kilowatt-hours. Ganyan ho natin in-estimate ang konsumo ng isang customer for the month of March and April based on his 3 previous months' consumption. Ang step 3 ho na kailangan natin gawin para makuha natin yung actual consumption ng isang customer is the following. We would get ho the difference of your actual reading in May less your previous reading in February. So that will give us a number of 750 kilowatt-hours as seen in step 1. We will then subtract the March estimate of 189 kilowatt-hours. And then we will also subtract the estimate for the month of April, which is 194 kilowatt hours. You will then get a number of 367 kilowatt hours for the month of May. Since naridingan na ho natin yung mga customers for this period, we can assure customers na actual meter reading at consumption lang ng customer ang mababasahan natin during this period. Accurate po yung reading niya. May action point po tayo is to issue letters to customers explaining the May bill computation. Coming from the JCEC meeting last Friday, we started sending out May bills with actual reading already, explaining exactly how their bill was computed. Dinabas na ho natin yan sa mga bills na pinadala natin beginning last Tuesday. Ang unpaid March, April, and May bills can be paid in 4 or 6 equal monthly installments as prescribed by the ERC advisory no earlier than June 15. Sinabi na rin ho natin yan sa sulat na inattach natin sa mga May bills na pinadala natin sa mga customers. I would like to now go to scenario 2. Ito ho yung mga customers natin who may have been overestimated. Kasi nung nag-meter read ho tayo sa mga customers na ito, hindi ho natin alam kung may negosyo ba sila o may konsumo ng kuryente dun sa establishment na yon o residential home. In this case ho, if we follow the same 3 steps earlier, step 1 ho, kunin natin yung May reading niya. Kung nabasahan na ho natin yung metro niya, ang konsumo niya ay 1,660. What we would then do is subtract the previous reading which only happened in Feb. So in this case, that's 1,600 kilowatt hours. Ang mangyayari ho, meron siyang difference ng 60 kilowatt hours. Following the same example po for step 2, as in the previous example, we showed that the March was estimated at 189 kilowatt hours, and we will show that the April bill was also simulated at and estimated at 194 kilowatt hours. If you apply that for step 3, the difference of A and B is 60 kilowatt hours, less the March estimate of 189, and less the estimate of April, and you will come up with a negative 323 kilowatt hour May consumption reading. Ang gagawin ho natin for this type of customer is we will issue a letter to customers on the adjustments for March, April, and May bills. I-explain ho natin to sa kanila. If their March and April bills have been paid, Meralco will refund this amount, will refund this overpayment, or credit this amount to future bills of the customer. There's another example ho that we saw. And in this case, pag nabasahan na ho natin yung metro ng customer ng Mayo at ang nakita natin wala ho siyang konsumo, ang magre-reflect sa actual reading niya ay 1,600 and ang previous reading niya nung Pebrero ay 1,600. Following the same 3 steps, we would now get the present reading of 1,600 less 1,600 of the previous reading in Feb, and it will give us a difference of 0 kilowatt hours. We will then subtract the March estimates of 189 kilowatt hours and subtract also the April estimates of 194 kilowatt hours, at ang may iwan ho ay negative 383 kilowatt hours. Same ho as the previous example, in this situation, we will issue letters to customers on the adjustments of their March, April, and May bills. And if their March and or April bills are paid, Meralco will refund the overpayment or credit this amount to the future bills of the customer. To address the May high bill concerns of customers, number 1, we have sent out letters to customers affected explaining this issue. On the right side, you will see samples of these letters that have been attached together with the May bills that we started distributing beginning this week. We will explain and clarify the issues thoroughly in live media interviews to educate our customers on how their May bill was computed. We will respond proactively to customer inquiries through our call center and our social media accounts. And we will enhance customer education initiatives through traditional and digital channels and by participating in different customer fora to explain the May bill better. Rest assured that Meralco will fully comply to all relevant ERC and DOE directives regarding ECQ and MECQ on billing, payment extension, and installment payments. Coming from the ERC advisory issued last May 22, for services with actual readings as of May, ang gagawin ho natin are bills with due dates falling within the ECQ period, March 15 to May 31, or in this case, a franchise ho ng Meralco between March 1 to March 14. This can be paid in 4 or 6 equal installments no earlier than June 15. All customers consuming 200 kilowatt hours and below, based on their consumption last February 2020, installment payment will be over a 6-month period. And all customers consuming greater than 200 kilowatt hours, installment payment will be over 4 months. All June billings will have an extended due date of not earlier than June 30 po. For services with no actual May reading, may mga sinubukan ho kaming basahan ng Metro but those areas have remained under lockdown or tighter control, hindi ho kami makapag-meter read. Meters will be read in June and adjustments in May bill will be reflected in the June bill. Ang gagawin ho natin dyan ay 1/4 of the June bill will be due no later than June 30 and the balance of the June bill will be paid in 4 or 6 equal monthly installments no earlier than July 15, inclusive of bills affected by ECQ. All customers consuming 200 kilowatt hours and below, based on their February consumption, installment payment po will be over 6 months, and all customers consuming greater than 200 kilowatt hours, installment payment will be over a 4-month period. For commercial and industrial customers naman po, they will be billed based on actual usage. Yung tinatawag po natin na Guaranteed Minimum Billing Demand or GMBD will not be implemented during the ECQ period of March 16 to May 31. Nagpapasalamat po kami sa ERC that because of this advisory, we will be sure to implement this to our customers. May issue rin po na na-raise regarding convenience fees paid for by our customers when they use the Meralco online facility. The Meralco online payments for the convenience fees goes to our payment gateway provider and their fund source. In this case Meralco will shoulder the convenience fees charged during the ECQ period of March 16 to May 15, 2020 and refund to the customers the said fees they paid during this period. Just to explain ang ginagamit po nating online payment gateway is a company called Paymaya, and they are a link or an intermediary between the Meralco system and credit cards, debit cards, and bank accounts via the switches of the Visa and MasterCard Global Network. Ang Paymaya ang direct na sumisingil ng convenience fee sa customers ng 47 pesos, of which 43 pesos and 58 centavos goes to the fund source, such as credit card companies, debit card companies, banks, and global network providers like Visa and MasterCard. Ang 3 pesos and 41 centavos goes to the local online payment gateway provider, and no part of the convenience fee goes to Meralco. Ang Meralco Online is just one of the many additional options or channels for customers to pay his or her bill and is purely voluntary on the part of the customer. Lastly, we would like to say that we are open for business, ready to listen and address all the queries of our customers. They can approach us through our business centers. They can call our hotline at 16211 or 16210. We are reachable through our email accounts, meralco.com.ph and customercare@meralco.com.ph. We can also be reached at Facebook and Twitter. But we'd also like to summarize that once we are able to meter read, what we will be able to get is the customer's true and actual consumption. Importante ho sa amin na makapag-meter read ho ang Meralco. Number two ho, you will have the assurance that Meralco will only bill based on what has been consumed. And pangatlo ho, Meralco will ensure that the installment payment plan as advised by the ERC advisory will be properly implemented for the benefit of our customers. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Mr. Enriño. Thank you, Meralco, for that presentation. Now, moving, let's ask ERC if they have any presentation of issuances that they have released during this COVID-19 pandemic. Ma'am Agnes?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We will be presenting the latest of the advisory that ERC has issued. Prior to this advisory, as we all know, ERC issued the previous advisory wherein we allow the payment in 4 equal monthly installments. However, when the ECQ was extended to MECQ, the commission thought that there is really not much of difference between the ECQ and MECQ, meaning that there is no access to the public transportation, and therefore those daily wage earners and those in the informal sectors would still have difficulties in the payment of their bills, and therefore the commission thought it best that we classify the consumers. So we have the 200 kilowatt hours per month and below as of February 2020. And this group of consumers, who we call the targeted consumers, will be allowed to pay in 6 equal monthly installments. And for all bills falling within the ECQ and MCQ period. And the first installment or the first monthly amortization will be made not any earlier than June 15, 2020. And we are thankful that Meralco is abiding and implementing this advisory. However, for consumers who consume above 200 kilowatt hours per month, as of February 20, then they will have to remain to pay in 4 equal monthly installments for all electricity bills falling due within the ECQ and MECQ period. And the first monthly amortization to be made should not be any earlier than June 15. However, and then every 15th day of the month after that will be the installments due for the ECQ and MECQ bills. So, Mr. Chairman, we have actually unbundled, so to speak, of what is properly the bills falling due within ECQ and MECQ and the regular bills. And the regular bills, Mr. Chairman, on the basis of meters that are already read, will be paid only not earlier than June 30. So may reprieve po. So nahiwalay po natin kung ano yung amortization in view of the fact that these are the bills falling during ECQ and MECQ and the regular bill, which based on the meter reading of Meralco also and the other DUs, we actually have only 3 DUs involved here, VECO, Meralco, and FLECO. Then the regular bill will have to be paid not earlier than June 30. I think this is the most important on the many things that ERC has done. We have, by the way, suspended the payment, the collection for the UCEC. So that will be a further reduction on the bill. So all the payments will be without penalties, interest, and other fees. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Chair Agnes. But before we proceed to the next resource persons, can I just acknowledge for the record and recognize the presence of Vice Chairman Jose Enrique Garcia, Honorable Godofredo Guya, Honorable Diego T. And also, I'd just like to thank ERC for the rapid response, the adjustments as to your advisories. And one question, ma'am, before I proceed to the next resource persons. This, just put it on record that the advisories given by the ERC not only affects Meralco, because I think most people would only think that Meralco is the only one that's affected here, but I think it also applies to all private distribution utilities and the electric cooperatives. So, ma'am, all the advisories of the ERC applies to all the distribution utilities?
For the previous advisories, Mr. Chairman, those are applicable actually to most of the DUs, distribution utilities, all DUs,
Yes, all
wherever they
DUs.
are. However, on the last,
Mhm.
because only those with MECQs, so they are applicable only in areas where there is an MECQ. But
MECQ.
yeah, Mr. Chairman, pero ano yan eh, last 2 weeks lang ho yun ng May. Pero yung
Yes.
previous to that, lahat ho kasali dito na
Yes.
DUs. Opo, salamat po.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. We just wanted to make that clear.
Mhm.
Okay, proceeding. May we ask Phil Reca? I think the Phil Reca from the electric cooperatives has a presentation. Phil Reca.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Would like to ask permission to share the slide.
Of course, please proceed.
So good afternoon again, once again, Mr. Chair, and to the honorable members of the Committee on Energy and all the resource persons who are invited in today's meeting. So some electric cooperatives and some electricity and consumers from private distribution utilities to the electric cooperatives took it to a mainstream and social media their complaints concerning the increase in the electricity bills during the last period of the MECQ and the ECQ. Electric cooperatives have tried and sincerely efforts to explain the circumstances surrounding this increase in the power bills through town hall meetings, social media, TV, radio interviews, and other means available. Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Chair. And before proceeding further, we would like to present a slide on understanding the electricity bills of the member consumer owners of the electric cooperatives. So pursuant to Section 36 of RA 9136, the EPIRA, all electric cooperatives or all electric power industry participants were mandated to functionally and structurally unbundle their business activities and power rates in accordance to the provisions of the EPIRA law. Changes in typical bill can be grounded or grouped in the following: generation, transmission, distribution, supply, and government charges. So we have here a sample bill. The distribution utility company, in our case, the electric cooperatives, are just collector of payments as we remit most of the fees we collect from the member consumer owners to the generation and transmission companies for the collections we have for generation and transmission charges. So for the part of distribution charges, here is a sample breakdown for the distribution charges which are being collected. And these are the government charges also being collected from the member consumer owners. And in summary, we would like to share that from the sample bill that we have presented, only 56% to 56.98% goes to the generation sector, 17.55% goes to the distribution utility or the electric cooperatives. And there are 12.7 government charges that are being collected. So if we translate that into peso, for every kilowatt hour, the generation company receives 5.36. For the transmission, 1.67. Only 1 peso and 20 cents are left to the electric cooperatives. This is for a 9.41 per kilowatt hour, Mr. Chair. So as a general rule, the increase in consumption would also increase in the power bill of every electric consumer. So there are different factors that affect consumers' electricity or power bill. As a general rule, your consumption is directly related to the power bill. An increase in the electricity consumption will result in increase in everyone's power bill. And of course, a decrease in consumption would decrease also in the power bill. So this is the general concept in all the distribution utilities. The specific concerns of certain consumers regarding the grace period and installment payment scheme, both the DOE and ERC have released issuances on different dates, giving reprieve to electric consumers on payment of their power bills by extending their due dates up to 4 to 6 months, depending on the restriction category of the electric cooperatives or the DU. On the said amortization payment scheme, the ECs have fully informed their member consumer owners, and you are given discretion whether to pay in full or pay on a staggered method as provided for in the advisory of DOE and ERC. This is without interest, penalty, or possible disconnection of service for non-payment. For May billing period, Mr. Chair, the electric cooperatives have actually conducted actual or physical meter reading. As of this bill, we have returned to, as of May, we have returned to actual billing. So if there are discrepancies in the averaging that has been conducted in the previous billing for the month of March, it has already been corrected for the May bill. So similarly, Mr. Chair, we also adopt the explanation as presented by Meralco because of the underestimation of some of the consumers' billing for the previous months as compared to the actual. This resulted into an increase of consumption or power bill of some of the member consumer owners. As to PhilReco acknowledged that in some occasions, some consumers have raised their concerns on possibility of a high electricity bill that they have received during the quarantine period. As aforementioned earlier, few consumers took it mainstream and social media their complaints. Actually, some are already covered by the news nationwide. For example, there is a news on a complaint of consumer where he was billed of 23,969 for her May bill, but her actual consumption in the previous bills is 6,000 only. Another report is a consumer complaints of 16,484 May bill when he actually receives the billing of 4 to 5,000 pesos monthly. The electric cooperative exerted effort to trace these member consumer owners, and upon verification of their individual bills, indeed there was increase in consumption of said member consumer owners, which they acknowledge. There is another news about a consumer. Unfortunately, Mr. Chair, the name of the consumer has not yet been provided by the network that have provided the news nationwide. But the electric cooperative is already working on it so that the complaint will be addressed specifically. So the primary reason in the increase of electricity bill of our consumers is the increase in the electricity consumption due to summer season. And in almost everywhere, in the community quarantine, electricity consumption varies throughout the year. The summer season, however, is the period when we really have increase in consumption because of the use of so many air conditioning units and other facilities for the member consumer owners. Historically, April to August are months with highest consumption, Mr. Chair. So there are also questions that were raised. Why are boarding houses, small business, and who are temporarily closed during the quarantine have been billed with high consumption? April billing is based on average consumption from January to March, as recommended by ERC. Estimated readings can be done to avoid possible exposure to COVID-19 in areas, whether they may be, there may have been consuming or not. For as long as estimated reading is done, they will be billed average for the previous months or so. On this note, Mr. Chair, let me reiterate, this is not a scam. This is downside of the estimated reading that has been conducted. Nonetheless, again, as previously disseminated, any variance in the payment and corrected actual billing will be adjusted accordingly by every electric cooperative concerned. So, Mr. Chair, the interventions needed to mitigate possible additional increases in electricity rates, as we have been also discussing, is the lifting of the minimum energy offtake, relaxing of provisions on capital recovery fees, contract capacity and other fixed charges, and availment of the prompt payment discount regardless of staggered payment as recommended by ERC. So we have conducted actually a survey on the electric cooperatives. From the 44 responses, only 4 electric cooperatives were able to have a favorable reply from their power suppliers, and the others, 41 of them, were not able to get the reply or favorable action from their power suppliers. As to contracted capacity and other fixed charges, there are 4 electric cooperatives who had favorable reply and 69 who were denied. Also on the possible deduction on prompt payment discount, based on 49 responses of the electric cooperatives, if the prompt payment discount has been provided by the power suppliers, there should have been a decrease in the amount of 29,417,935.08 peso, or an average of 0.0303 per kilowatt hour. So if you consume 100 kilowatt hour, there is a deduction in the amount of 3.04 for the 200 kilowatt hour, 6 pesos and 04, and for 300 kilowatt hour, 9.11. The value would have been bigger, Mr. Chair, if we were able to get all the responses of the 121 electric cooperatives. So that would be all, Mr. Chair. We hope that we have provided an explanation why there was a increase in the power bills of our MCOs. Rest assured that PhilReca and the other electric and the 121 electric cooperatives will be working hand in hand together with ERC, DOE, NEA, and the other government agencies to ensure that affordable rates will be provided to each and every MCO. Thank you very much.
Thank you, PhilReca, Attorney Kulingan. If PIPOA also has a presentation, if none, I can proceed to the others. Would PIPOA have any presentation?
We have no presentation.
Okay, thank you, PIPOA. Before we proceed, I'd just like to recognize the presence of Honorable Jake Villa. Proceeding, may I now recognize Bayan Muna, is former Congressman Nery Colmenares here. I think they have a presentation.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Yes, please proceed. Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon to all. And maraming salamat sa imbitasyon ng committee ito kay Chair Velasco at sa mga members ng committee for such a very timely issue, which is the Meralco issue, Mr. Chair. So anyway, yung issues have been joined, no? Meralco caused a lot of electric shocks on the people, on the consumers, noong natanggap ng consumers ang mga bills nila nitong lockdown. No? And of course, ang claim ng consumers may overcharging. Kasi imposible na yung average nila in the last 3 months is more doon sa mas malaki yung kanilang natanggap na charges. That's Meralco has also answered an argument on that. But we welcome, of course, the ERC decision, which is for Meralco to practically take back its billing pending the actual meter reading of the consumers. The second issue is the convenience fee, which, of course, Meralco just passed through to the consumers, and I presume without even reporting the same to ERC. And we welcome the DOE's intervention in this area. And of course, we also welcome the withdrawal of Meralco of the said convenience fee. Ang problem lang, Mr. Chair, of course, hindi naman ito nangyari kung hindi nagkaroon ng pagreklamo at pagprotesta ang publiko. So that's one of the things I'd like to raise. Paulit-ulit na kasi, Mr. Chair, no? With due respect to Meralco. And maybe the committee can intervene here somewhere para hindi na maulit ito. In 2003, the Supreme Court ordered Meralco to refund 30.2 billion pesos of overcharging. At ang pagtingin namin, hindi pa na-refund ito. No? Alam nyo, pwede siguro i-press din ng komite. Ang Meralco, na-refund mo na ba ito ang Supreme Court decision na 30 billion pesos noong 2003 pa? Kasi Mr. Chair, kung hindi pa, malaking tulong yan sa mga consumers ngayon pag ma-refund yan. That's equivalent to probably 3 months of consumption para sa mga 200 kilowatt hours consumers. No? Kung sabihin ng Meralco na na-refund na, maybe the committee can ask the ARC, can we not audit these refunds para naman malaman natin? In Commissioner Non of ERC mentioned last year, remember, about 40 to 50 billion in overcharging. Kami naman po, nagpetition kami sa ERC for the refund of about 29 billion pesos of overcharging from 2013 to 2018. So, ibig sabihin, Mr. Chair, kung may panalo, magdesisyon lang sana ang ERC, halimbawa, at manalo ang consumers, ang laking bagay na naman ito ng 29 billion pesos. Another 3 months of condonation ito sa ating mga mamamayan. Ngayon, ang isang problema, Mr. Chair, that the committee may go into probably is, of course, ang hirap talaga sa Meralco because it's a monopoly. Siya ang biggest kasi seller and buyer of electricity market. Ngayon, the Congress passed ARCOA, of course, no, ang retail, competition, open access. But hanggang ngayon, naka-restrain yan, ano? And who knows, maybe the members of this committee can intervene in that Supreme Court decision, Supreme Court petition, na decision naman ng korte. Kasi kung ang problema dito, Mr. Chair, reklamo tayo ng reklamo, but at the end of the day, babalik tayo sa Meralco. Ako, si Colmenares, nagreklamo ka palagi, pero pag mamayang gabi, pag uwi sa bahay, edi Meralco pa rin yung service provider mo. Wala ka namang choice, wala kang option. So siguro panahon na, Mr. Chair, ng komite na ito, i-review na rin siyempre ang IPIRA at makapantay na ng bagong framework doon sa energy sector. But this is the pressing problem, Mr. Chair. Kahit i-adjust ng Meralco ang billing nila, kahit mga lahati pa yung billing, Mr. Chair, ang ating mamamayan hindi pa rin kakayaning bayaran yan. Kasi wala silang income talaga in the last 2 months eh. Kaya now may impasse tayo dito. Bumaba na nga, sige, na-settle na, bumaba na yung bills, hindi pa rin mababayaran. Malaking komplikadong problema ito, Mr. Chair. Kasi hindi mo siya pwedeng i-disconnect ang kuryente kasi that's a public health threat. In the midst of pandemic, may hundreds of thousands kang household na mainit, madilim. Talagang hirap ka mag-quarantine doon. So ang proposal, Mr. Chair, if we go to the proposal, yung 1-month condemnation ng sana ng kuryente for at least 100 or up to 200 kilowatt hours sa lahat ng consumer. One, sa Meralco customers, and second, sa mga probinsya. Kasi lahat naman nagsasuffer ngayon, hindi lang dito sa Meralco franchise, kundi sa mga probinsya rin, katulad natin na mga probinsyano. Doon sa Meralco, ang estimate ko po at 8.9 pesos per kilowatt hour. Kung doon sa 6.4 million na household customers ng Meralco, that can amount to at least, kahit so kung sa 100 lang, 5.7 billion and about 11 billion for 200 kilowatt hours. No? Yung 5.7 billion, for example, Mr. Chair, pwedeng shared yan ng Meralco with other energy players. Pero just a note, that is just equivalent to Meralco's net core income in the first quarter of 2020, which is 5.72 billion pesos. So, isa siguro talagang pag-usapan, paano yan? Mayroon bang chance na makondone at least isang buwan para sa mga consumers? Secondly, Mr. Chair, paano naman yung mga sa probinsya? Ako, Bisaya ako, yung mga nasa probinsya ng Visayas, medyo hirap din bayad ngayon. You, Mr. Chair, you're from Marinduque. I'm sure hirap talaga ang lahat ngayon. So ito namang mga electric cooperatives na non-profit, hindi naman sila kumikita ng 5.72 billion sa first quarter. Kaya hindi nila kakayaning kargahin yung ganong klaseng condonation. So ang estimate ko po, out of the 14 million customers ng electric cooperatives, about 11 million ang household dyan. No? So if ipeg mo lang sa 9 pesos per kilowatt hour, halimbawa, ang 11 million for at least 100 kilowatt hours, halimbawa, that totals to about 9.9 billion. Ngayon, saan mo kukunin ang pondo, Mr. Chair, and maybe the committee can study this. Kung VAT, pwede naman, but VAT is only 1.2 billion pesos. So ang aking pinopropose, titingnan ng komite sa government share in national wealth na pagkukunan yung subsidy na yan. Magkano ba ang government share of the national wealth? Ang government share of the national wealth is a lump sum amount, Mr. Chair. Nandiyan yan sa tabi, hindi yan nagagamit palagi. It's just there na sana ma-activate natin ngayon. According to the National Expenditures Program of the government submitted for the 2020 budget, at end of 2018, ang total na government share, which Malampaya Fund is a major part, it constitutes about 82% of the government share, ay 249 billion pesos. Ang revenue niya ng 2019 ay 29.179 billion pesos. Kung i-less mo ang expenditures for 2019, it totals to at least 275 billion pesos, Mr. Chair. So itong 9.9 billion na hinihingi para i-subsidize ang mga non-profit electric cooperatives, malaking bagay yan, Mr. Chair. Chicken feed yan. Kumbaga, maliit na bagay yan sa Malampaya Fund, pero malaking bagay yan sa taong bayan, sa mga probinsya na kung saan ang mga kasamahan natin, ang mga kongresista mula sa mga probinsya would know na mahirapan magbayad ang mga mamamayan sa probinsya. Sabihin nila, meron na yung murang kuryente akte, nabawasan na yan. Ako, Mr. Chair, pwede mong ipatawag siguro ang BTR, no, ang National Treasury, kung na-transfer na nga ba ang 208 billion under the Murang Kuryente Act. Kasi ang intindi ko, Mr. Chair, I'm sure, hindi pa na-transfer yan to pay for the stranded debts of BISAM. So, kung ibawas mo pa, sige na, ibawas pa natin yung 208 billion, meron pang natirang 67.9 billion. At ang projected revenue niyan from the consortium for 2020, according to the NEP mismo ng gobyerno, is another 29 billion pesos. So, kung titingnan mo, Mr. Chair, either the government share of national wealth or the Malampaya Fund itself na may, ang estimate ko ay 226 billion and by 2020, napakalaking tulong. So in sum, Mr. Chair, ito siguro, I will summarize na lang. Ang isang problema dito, Mr. Chair, kasi monopoly. Monopoly So paulit-ulit ito. So sana naman, ma-press naman ang Meralco, matanong sila ng komiteng ito sa hearing na ito. Ito bang 30 billion na 2003 order ng Korte Suprema, na-refund nyo na? Kasi kung hindi nila na-refund, Mr. Chair, malaking tulong yan pag ma-refund nila next month yan. Ang daming mamamayan ang talagang makaginhawa dyan. No? Ito bang 29 billion na refund naman na hinihingi namin sa ARC, sana naman madesisyonan na ng ARC. And thirdly, masabi ng komiteng ito sa ARC na mag-conduct ng audit sa mga refunds na ito. Imagine, Mr. Chair, last March, Meralco refunded 1.2 billion pesos sa consumers for overcharging in 2013. Ganon kahirap, Mr. Chair, ang pag-refund sa Meralco. Kaya ang laki ng outrage ng taong bayan nung tingin nila nag-overcharge, no? Kasi kung ma-found out na overcharge yan, di ang hirap naman maningil. Secondly, Mr. Chair, syempre, doon sa sa mga other refund petitions, sana naman maka-intervene ang komite for that. And of course, nabanggit ko na kaninang ARCOA, ang hirap nito kasi ang monopoly nandyan eh. And the intention of ARCOA na ma-break yung monopoly, probably it will not break the monopoly. In fact, may similar sa ARCOA, for example, in Portugal. In Portugal, hindi na-break ng ARCOA nila ang monopoly. Pero 80% ng supply and demand, hawak pa rin ng isang entity, pero napababa nilang presyo ng kuryente kasi may choice ang tao eh. Lilipat ako dito, di ba? So sa akin naman, of course, pwede siguro mag-intervene ng komite in the sense na, you can petition sa Korte Suprema, not the committee, members of Congress. It has been done before by many congressmen. Na sana decision na para naman kahit papaano, reklamo tayo ng reklamo, at least hindi tayo pwersado na bumalik sa Meralco. So, Mr. Chair, of course, yung pinaka-main framework nito, of course, is panahon na sigurong i-review ang IPIRA. The promise of IPIRA never happened, Mr. Chair. At panahon na siguro na i-review ng komiteng ito at ng Kongreso na ang IPIRA at magpanday na tayo ng panibagong framework sa energy sector para naman hindi na maulit ang ganitong problema at para naman kahit papano ma-alleviate ang plight ng ating mga consumers. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair, at magandang hapon sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, former Kong Jerry Colmenares, who's the chair of Bayan Muna. If there are no other presentations, we can already proceed with the interpellations. Okay, but before we proceed, may I just like to thank former Congressman Nery Colmenares for his presentation and suggestions. True enough, let's tackle all the questions that he wants to propound to Meralco after the interpellations of our members. So proceeding, in the list of interpellators, sorry. Proceeding with the list of interpellators, we have first on the list would be Vice Chairman Jericho Nograles. But before you proceed, Vice Chairman, let me just remind our members that if we can limit their questions to only 5 minutes. Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to our distinguished members and Secretariat and our resource persons. First of all, I'd like to thank Meralco for writing to the Committee on Energy explaining the complaints and the situation and what you have done. I have read through the letter myself and as well as the other submissions that you have given. And it is very clear what you have done there and that you have actually followed what the ERC asked almost to the letter. However, there are, while a lot has been clarified, there is an issue of equity here or equitable billing. And I believe that the ERC, and I think that the ERC is present through the chairperson, Agnes de Venadera, I think we have to consider something else aside from because of these bill shocks. I will give an example, and this applies to both scenarios, the scenario 1 of high consumption and scenario 2 of low or no consumption. My personal bill from Meralco, and this should also apply to all distribution utilities, I can see that Meralco followed all the principles on the average of the last 3 months usage or kilowatt hours consumed, and then eventually on actual meter reading, decreasing said estimates, and then the rest will be billed on the current billing period. On my personal bills from Meralco, I have a billing cycle that begins on the 18th of every month and ends on the 17th of the next month. For my January to February bill, I was charged 10 pesos, 10.0951 pesos per kilowatt hour. That was my effective power rate. On February to March, my estimated bill, because you used the last 3 months average in accordance with the ERC directive, I was charged 10 pesos, 0.1259 per kilowatt hour. On March to April, again an estimated billing, I was charged 10.2342 pesos per kilowatt hour. And on my latest bill, April to May, this is a physical bill with a physical reading, I was charged 9.8420 pesos per kilowatt hour. Mr. Chair and honorable members, we can see that month per month, the cost of electricity or the effective electricity rates are different. So you have, and it ranges from, at least my last 4 billings, from 9 pesos all the way to 10 pesos. The problem here is that the billing of May, utilizing the formula of usage minus estimate, actual meter reading minus estimate, the whole billing or the whole balance is charged in accordance to the present pesos per kilowatt hour effective rate. That is problematic because for high consumption users, which is scenario 1, Meralco is subsidizing the cost of electricity. In other words, lugi ang Meralco. And for those with low or no consumption, lugi naman ang mga low or no consumption. Dahil nagbayad ang mga low and no consumption sa mga higher electricity rates. Pero paano yung refunding niya? Is it based on kilowatt hour or pesos per kilowatt hour on the average and another set of estimations? So ang nakikita ho natin bilang isang vice chairman ng ating committee is that hindi po na-estimate or wala pong formulation or guidance galing sa ERC kung papaano mag-estimate ng price per kilowatt hour. So you see, that is a gap that I think it has to be addressed para naman equitable. Hindi naman masyadong lugi on the part of the customer at hindi naman din lugi on the part of the distribution utility. So dito siguro papasok yung ERC for all the distribution utilities para pag-isipan ito. So Mr. Chair, I really don't have any questions. I just need to manifest this na ito po yung sitwasyon natin na hindi po equitable dahil yung na-address lang kung paano i-appreciate ang mga consumption as far as kilowatt hours is concerned. Pero yung charging mechanism as to pesos per kilowatt hour, hindi po siya na-cover. So yun lang po, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Jericho Nograles. Can we ask Meralco to respond to the manifestation of Honorable Nograles? Meralco.
Magandang hapon po, Mr. Chair, at maraming salamat kay Congressman Vice Chair Nograles para sa kanyang manifestation. Sa ngayon po, tama po si Vice Chair Nograles, no? Pag-aaralan po namin iyan at kukonsultahin po namin ng Energy Regulatory Commission kung ano ang tamang mechanism para doon sa pag-resolve doon sa katanungan ni Vice Chair Nograles at para po naman maging equitable din ito sa consumers pag nag-refund kami nung sinatawag natin na case ng overestimation. So salamat po.
Thank you, Honorable Nograles. Okay, may we now call on Honorable Ria Vergara. Ma'am Ria?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Chairman De Vanadera, and to all our resource speakers. I was reading up on the response of Meralco to the high charges, and one of the solutions they proposed is the installation of smart meters. I hope that the ERC will look into this, the health implications. I'm pretty much up to date in the power industry, and the jury's still out if these smart meters emit this, what they call this radio frequency radiation, which can be cause of cancer or other illnesses. I mean, if you Google it, you'd think that there's just a very strong lobby group that doesn't want it, but the jury's still out. And I don't really know if smart meters is the way to go. I mean, that will just mean Meralco and other utilities will be hiring less people to do actual meter reading. And what we want now is to create employment. So I call on Meralco and the ERC to really study if the smart meters is the right solution to the current problem we have of, just to justify so that everyone gets perfect reading when there's a pandemic, when there's a typhoon. And my second question, Mr. Chair, is the convenience fee. Is this the first time Meralco charged this, or have they always been charging convenience fees for people who pay online?
Thank you, Honorable Vergara. Meralco, please respond.
Mr. Chair, since we started the Meralco Online app in September 2018, the convenience fee has always been there for customers as one of the options for payment. The Meralco Online app has been running for close to 2 years already, sir. And this charge is actually from our payment gateway provider.
Does Meralco have plans to do its own online so that you're not the one waiving a fee that should be paid to PayMaya, but something that, your own platform, that way people can do online payments without ever paying 47? Or do you always intend to subcontract this service out? I mean, you have such a huge customer base. I would think like smaller utilities or cooperatives can band together and come up with one platform. But Meralco, I mean, you're so big. Shouldn't we expect you to have your own online scheme where you can just pass this service on for free and not just because there's a pandemic and people have complained? Are there moves in management to do this?
Actually, ma'am, the Meralco Online app is actually our own. It's an app that we did with a partner called Salesforce to develop this online application for us. But with regards to payment, since we do not have our own banking network, we really need an intermediary to be able to link the payments of our customers to the banking system. And this is what the online payment gateway provider does.
So you cannot use, the number of customers you have to waive this fee. That will eventually come back once everything normalizes.
At this point, ma'am, it's a cost of doing business for us that is being charged by the online payment gateway provider.
So I appeal then to you to maybe this is something that you can absorb, not just during the pandemic, but going forward. Because as we go forward, online payments will be something that will be part of the new normal. And I think 47 pesos is a hefty charge for people in the CDE class. And the last is, I was listening to former Congressman Colmenares, and he was talking about condonation of the payments to the utilities for 1 month to be sourced from, I think, Malampaya funds. Mr. Chair, could I make a suggestion that if there is such a move in our committee, that if we will be condoning distribution utilities and electric cooperatives, we should also look at helping power generators and the transmission companies. It's a whole chain, Mr. Chair. I know we think that all these big players are, have deep pockets, but we don't know how long this pandemic. And if we only try to help the distribution utilities and electric cooperative consumers, like you mentioned, Mr. Chair, we also have to help the people supplying, generating, and transmitting energy. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the
Thank
time
you,
and
Honorable.
for listening.
Thank you, Honorable Vergara. Yes, thank you, Menalco. Thank you, Honorable Vergara. Definitely, this committee would take a look at that suggestion made by Bayan Muna former Congressman Eric Colmenares when it comes to the balance of the Malampaya Fund, less the Murang Kuryente Act, in helping the stakeholders in the energy sector. But before we proceed with the interpellation, I just recognize the presence of Deputy Majority Leader Crystal Bagat Singh and Honorable Ruth Mariano Hernandez. Okay, next in the list of interpellators, may I now call on Vice Chair Presley De Jesus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to my colleagues and to all the resource speakers, and to all COMSEC here in our Committee on Energy. Good afternoon po sa atin lahat. Before I proceed to my question to Meralco, Mr. Chair, I would like to agree with former Congressman Eric Colmenares and with Congresswoman Ria Vergara regarding the subsidy that must be given, or the 1 month consideration that will have been given to not only to electric cooperatives but as well as to the private distribution utilities, yung 1 month condemnation, yung sinasabi nila kanina. Especially in electric cooperatives, we filed, the Power Boys filed House Bill 6060, at least to alleviate what we call the socio-economic impact of this pandemic. Nag-file kami in Congress na bigyan ng subsidiya ang mga distribution unit at least 1 month, but still pending in Congress. And I think that will be a big help, and I think the distribution utility is the best tool to apply those subsidies o yung social amelioration program natin, na it will go directly to the distribution utilities and to be applied to all the member consumer owners or the consumers of the private distribution utilities. Sana, and I hope, with this, with you, Mr. Chairman, na matulungan ang mga distribution utilities. And not only that, including the generation. As you know, i-circle yan, generation, distribution, transmission, umiikot yan. So if one of them stops, problema lahat yan. So I hope the committee will take cognizance with this one. Regarding my questions to Meralco, Mr. Chair, according to the distribution services and open access rule, yung natin sa section 3.5.4, there's 4 methods during force majeure or this kind of calamities that they can use the estimated billing. First, they call the average daily usage of the customer during the course of the billing period registered by the meter applied to the remaining days in the billing period. Then number 2, the average usage of the customer during the preceding 3 months. Ito yung ginamit ng Meralco. I'm just curious, Mr. Chair, why they use this number 2 method instead of this number 3, the usage of the customer during the same month of the preceding year. If they use that March from the preceding year, I think mas malapit sa katotohanan dahil summer tayo last year. Kumpara mo yung average mo December, January, February, which is medyo malamig. So I'm just curious. Anyway, in this 4, kahit anong gamitin nila, tama. So there's no wrong with that. I'm just curious, Mr. Chair. That would be it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable De Jesus. Can we ask Meralco to respond to that query? Meralco?
Magandang hapon po ulit, Mr. Chair. Opo. Doon po sa katanungan ni Congressman De Jesus, yung ginamit po namin, tama po siya, yung ginamit po namin na isa sa mga methodologies na nakasulat sa Distribution Services Open Access Rules. Ginamit po namin yung consumption ng customers in the immediately preceding 3 months prior to the affected period. No? So ito po ang sa tingin namin ang pinaka-appropriate given the circumstances, at ito po ay alinsunod din sa advisory na binigay ng Energy Regulatory Commission noong May 5. So in hindsight, siguro po mas mainam nga yung sinasabi ni Congressman De Jesus na ginamit namin yung last year, no? Baka nakabawas doon sa mga naging problema natin. So sa mga susunod na pagkakataon ay titignan po natin ang mabuti yan. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Meralco. Yes, Honorable De Jesus.
Again, hindi natin sinisisi ang Meralco rito. I know, even the electric cooperatives, medyo tumaas din ang kanilang billing. But again, they chose number 2, and I think that's also a good choice. But again, maybe in the future, not only the private distribution utilities, including the electric cooperatives, they must use number 3. At least yun, Mr. Chair, malapit sa katotohanan. That's it, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable De Jesus. Proceeding, may I now recognize Deputy Majority Leader Bernadette Herrera D.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. May mga konti lang akong katanungan with your permission, Mr. Chair.
Of course. Please proceed.
Allow me to thank ERC Chair for immediately responding to the call na sana nga maging ma-extend pa yung, dahil na-extend ang enhanced community quarantine, that means they should also further extend the deadlines para mabayaran yung ating mga bills. So salamat po dyan, ma'am. And at the same time, gusto ko lang din po malaman, have we mandated already Meralco to ensure na isulat na sa bill yung eksaktong installment payments nila? Has this already been mandated to them? With your permission, Mr. Chair.
Yes, of course. Please proceed.
Okay. With the permission of Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Madam Chair, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Congressman D, for this question. Yes, we have mandated and in fact specified exactly the dates when the installments should be paid. The installments due on the bills for the ECQ and MECQ will have to be paid every 15th day of the month starting June 15. So it shouldn't be any earlier than June 15 because as we said earlier, we're just projecting that, this will just be the time that the daily wage earners particularly will be going back to work. So nalatag ho naman natin yun na and we are certain that there are specific dates when this should be paid. So, magkaiba ho yun.
Mr. Chair, yung isa po kasi din na tinitignan natin, posible po kaya na instead of June 15, kahit mas later pa ng konti, considering marami sa mga kababayan natin yung no work, no pay. So, pagbalik nila, hindi mo naman i-expect na sa sweldo sila kaagad. Kunwari, magsimula sila ng trabaho or kung may babalikan pa silang trabaho ng June 1. So, pag sinabi mong June 15, magbabayad na sila, baka hindi pa rin kayanin ng ating mga kababayan. Is it at all possible to extend this kahit na 15 days later para enough na meron ng pangbayad yung ating mga kababayan?
Yes, I think Ma'am Chair Agnes can answer that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Ang tinignan po natin, parang targeted ito. Yung tingin natin, doon pa lang mag-uumpisang magtrabaho, June 1st, ang babayaran lang po naman nila sa unang pagkakataon, the first installment, which is June 15, yun lang pong 1/6. Kasi dinivide po natin into 6 months. Kung ikaw, ang konsumo mo is 200 kilowatt hour per month and below. Sa amin pong mga computation, ito po ang target consumers natin. Ito yung daily wage earners, kaya 6 na buwan po ang kanilang installment. Pero dun sa iba, 200 and up, yan po ang 4 equal monthly installments. Yun know, yung aming nakita. At siguro naman ho, magaan-gaan ito.
Honorable D. Honorable BH, Bernard Herrera.
Sir,
You still
nawala
there?
daw na-disconnect daw si Kong BH.
Okay, but while waiting for Honorable Herrera, just like to ask Ma'am Agnes. So when you say about the 200, just so to be able to clarify lang po, ma'am, for yun sa mga listening public, yung pag below 200 kilowatt per hour ka, yung mga lifeline consumers natin, they can pay their bills in 6 monthly installments. Ano po?
Opo. Starting June 15.
So, starting June 15. So in other words, it doesn't matter kung kailan nila bayaran yun. Basta within 6 months, mabayaran nilang buo. Because yung sa over 200 kilowatt per hour natin, that's in 4 equal monthly installments. But when we talk about yung mga below 200 kilowatts per hour, ng mga lifeline, it doesn't matter. Kunyari, let's say, they can pay muna 100 pesos in the first month, tapos 500 in the second month, until they finish the payments. Tama po, ma'am?
Equal monthly installment din po yon in 6 months. Dahil ang ating po namang tiningnan dyan, baka naman maipunan, darating na ang Pasko, wala nang pamasko, at doon na sa dulo magbayad. So, you know, these are very parang down to earth computations.
Yes, of course, ma'am. I was just trying to clarify lang para clear po sa ating mga consumers na if you're falling within the 200 kilowatt per hour lifeline, 6 monthly equal installments. But if you are more than the 200 kilowatt per hour, 4 monthly installments starting June 15. Yan, para clear po tayo.
Thank you po.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair Agnes. Since Deputy Majority Leader Bernadette Herrera-D was cut off, let's proceed first to Honorable Sergio Dagoop. Honorable Dagoop.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Before I proceed with my question to ARC and PIPA, I would just like to manifest first, Mr. Chair, that I am in full agreement with the noble proposal of former Congressman Colmenares that we really need to subsidize at least 1 month. Ang nakikita ko dito, Mr. Chair, kahit yung consumers lang ang isubsidize natin, that will trickle down to relief to other sector in the supply chain. Kasi ultimately, pag sinubsidize mo yon, kulikta ng DIOS yon, maibabayad din yon ng distribution utility sa transmission provider at saka sa generator. So in effect, isang segment lang ng sektor ang tinutulungan mo, yung lahat ng sektor ay nakikinabang, including the customers, mainly the customers. So kaya I am really appealing to the committee na we should maybe prioritize this proposal na kahit man lang isang buwan, lahat, all electricity users of the country. Now, to my question, Mr. Chair, I would like to respectfully ask the Honorable Chair of ERC if she agree, if she is in agreement that payment of unnominated or unutilized portion of your contract demand and your MEOT, which will be passed on to ultimately to the electricity end users, is unnecessary cost and unnecessary burden to them. If she agree on that.
Yes, Madam Chair, if you can respond.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. doon po sa, these are provisions of the PSA po. Parang kontrata po yan. And we have always encouraged parties to negotiate on these terms. Covered po kasi yan ng PSA eh. Because iba-iba po kasi ang sitwasyon ng bawat EC, ng electric cooperative, ng supplier. So sila naman po makakapag-negotiate. Kaya, at yun po naman ini-encourage namin yung negotiation. Kasi nga po, pwede itong makamahal, pwede itong makaburden. So pareho naman nilang alam ang sitwasyon nila sa very specific areas. Yun po ang naging position ng ERC. But these are being continually studied. But right now po, it seems that marami pong parties na mas maganda yung the terms and conditions that they arrive at.
Mr. Chair,
Honorable Dago.
I understand now where the chairperson is coming from. Ang sulat po ng Pilrica at NAGMIC ay hindi naman po nag-i-insist, but we are appealing for an intervention. Parang kung baga namanhikan lang tayo, Mr. Chair, pwede namang sabihin nung pinakiusapan natin na samahan tayo na kaya mo na yan. Kasi wala naman akong ano dyan, I am not a party of that. Pero iba na talaga, Mr. Chair, kung mayroong mamamagitan. That's the whole point that I am raising, na baka naman po pwede mamamagitan si DOE at ERC doon sa usapan ng mga DIOs at sa kanilang mga supplier. Kasi alam naman nating lahat, sa side ng generating companies, pwede naman nilang ibaba yung generating capacity nila. Kung ilang unit yon, kung bababa yung demand, pwede naman nilang hindi pa andarin yung ilang unit. There are technical measures doon. Kaya hindi naman sila gagastos doon. Kaya ang inaano namin, this is not for our own benefit. This is for the benefit of the Filipino electricity end users. Kaya we are appealing na mamagitan yung mga government agencies involved, magpagitna sa amin para naman, kita mo, out of 57 na nakipag-negotiate, 4 lang yung nabigyan. The rest hindi. Maybe dadami yan kapag may namamagitan. So, I don't want anymore to for the chair to answer. Basta na iparating ko na sana doon sa pamanhika namin sa mga GENCOs, samahan nyo kami. Doon, finally, Mr. Chair, I would like to ask PIPA, kung nandito yung PIPA, pwede ba, like ERC, makiusap din, this representation would like also to respectfully appeal to PIPA. Kung mayroon kayong member na 4 na nagbigay ng konsiderasyon doon sa contracting distribution utility, baka naman po para matulungan din natin yung mga kababayan natin na magaan-gaan yung babayaran nila dahil ultimately nga ipasa to sa kanila. So, may I hear, Mr. Chair, if there is a representative from PIPA?
Yes, of course, Ma'am Montelibano, if you can respond to the query of Honorable Dago.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Your Honors. Sir, good afternoon po. Yes, I take note of your concerns. I think all of us are customers also in our own right. So we feel the burden with regard our costs, diba? But speaking for the generators in general, it's a case-to-case basis, as Ma'am Agnes explained. Meron po kasing, depende po yung effect ng COVID, di ba? Per area, per location. Kaya sinabi nila sa advisory na in this case, para masolusyonan ng maigi, It
Like,
has to be
there's
evaluated by the
King Cup,
ERC on a
King
case-to-case
Cup that doesn't
basis.
have Chinese characters, so it doesn't look like it's from China. It's from Dipolog City.
Honorable Vergara, if you
So
can
if it comes,
unmute
it's
first your
June
mic.
6 pa. Hindi na siya aabot. Or early, kasi there, if you want, said yes.
For
They
a
have
while,
it.
Honorable
Meeting
Magdalena.
supervisor. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay, please proceed.
Okay, so yun nga, sir, what we are saying is that with regard to your concerns, the parties, yung mga ECs po o yung mga DUs na may problema, they should file with the ERC kasi contractual po yan, sa PSA po yan. This has to be evaluated kung ano po yung effect doon sa kanila. Alam nyo naman po na lahat ng contracts, yung mga PSAs go through stringent evaluation with the ERC. So kami po, yun yung we stand with the ERC and the DOE in saying that, you know, if there are concerns with your contracts and the effects of COVID in your area and dahil doon, you should bring it to the ERC for evaluation. Yun po. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Montaliban. No? Yes, Honorable Dago.
One final, Mr. Chair, to PIPA. As far as the ISIS is concerned, no, wala po kaming binabalak na we will yung gagamitin namin yung legal option, no. Kaya nga very clear yung term na ginamit namin, it's an appeal in behalf of our consumers. So ang on the part of the PIPA, baka lang naman po, no, matulungan nyo kami through your association, yung mga distribution utilities, kasi kung may pinaka mahirap naman po ng mga consumers, yan po yung mga consumers sa franchise area ng electric cooperative because we are serving the rural areas. So hirap po sila, wala po silang kita dahil yung hindi sila makapunta sa mga farms nila, mangisda nung time na nag-ECQ. Wala silang inaasahan galing sahod sa kanilang mga employer because they are unemployed, no. Informal workers po sila sektor. So ang hinahanap lang namin tulong na kayang ibigay ng PIPA members by way of kahit hindi 100%, kahit 25%, 30%, a certain percentage of the fixed cost nga maibigay ninyo ay malaki na pong tulong hindi sa mga co-op, kung hindi sa mga member consumer owners namin. Thank you. That's all for Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Honorable Dagook. And duly taken, I think PIPA should actually review and accede more to the request of Honorable Dagook. If they can just study, if they can actually grant the request. Thank you, Honorable Dagook. Before we proceed to the next interpellator, let's go back again to Honorable Bernadette Herrera. Honorable Herrera. Please unmute your mic.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Salamat po sa pagkakataon makabalik. Anyway, Ma'am Agnes, Chair Agnes, going back to my question, is it at all possible to extend the June 15? Considering na babalik pa lang ang ating mga kababayan sa trabaho, marami dito ang no work, no pay. So parang kung sasweldo man sila sa 15 pa. So baka naman pwedeng i-postpone natin to another month just to accommodate naman na meron na silang income before they are duty bound to pay their bills sa Meralco at sa iba pang ating mga kasamang sa mga electricity payments natin.
Yes, Madam Chair, Agnes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. By the way, I would like to give credit also to Congressman DH regarding some of the inputs that were included in the last advisory. Kasi pareho kami nag-guest sa isang program. And I really appreciate the congressman for giving me those inputs. Now, on the possibility of extending, ang amin ho namang nakikita, tingnan ho natin yung sinong makakabayad at sino pang hindi. Anyway po, ang atin rin namang pakiusap is to deal with the consumers in this target group with compassion.
Okay.
Ang ating mga distribution utilities. So kung hindi man makabayad at talagang walang-wala o hindi makakasapat, tingnan ho natin kasi ang amin mang appeal ho sa ating mga distribution utilities, deal with them with compassion because they are the targeted group.
Okay, sige po. Medyo masaya na rin ako doon. Pero kung kaya namang i-extend. Pero sana wala lang pong mapuputulan pag hindi nagbayad. Kasi syempre we have to understand, like you said, we have to be compassionate in these times. Because hindi rin naman po nila kasalanan na nawalan sila ng trabaho. Ito po ang mga taong nagtatrabaho noon na biglang-bigla nawalan po sila ng income. Number 2, hindi ko alam kung nasagot na kanina kay Kong Nograles. Yun bang reading assumptions na ginawa ng Meralco, ito po ba ay may approval ng ERC? Yung sistema kung paano sila nag-assume ng kanilang bill, pinayagan po ba ito ng ERC?
Actually po,
Yes,
meron
ma'am.
tinatawag. Meron po kasi, Mr. Chairman, may I? Meron po
Yes,
kasi
please.
Meron po kasing set of rules, no? Ang tawag po dyan ay yung DSOR na pagka may ganyang kalamidad, pero kasi yung COVID-19, wala yan sa ating radar screen nung ginawa yung DSOR. So, ang kinakapture lang ng mga incidents doon ay yung mga baha, bagyo, they don't normally take more than 2 weeks.
A few days,
so, ang pagka ganun hong may mga pangyayaring, may mga typhoons, kalamidad, hindi talaga nakakapag-reading. So ang ERC ito previous rules pa, meron ng mga options. Pag walang meter reading, pwedeng tingnan kung pagbatayan yung same month of the previous year. O kaya the average for the past 3 months na may reading. Ngayon, siyempre ang nakita doon, ang pwede siguro ay yung 3 months average for the past 3 months kasi yung December, January, February naman hindi naman matataas ang bills dahil hindi naman mainit ang panahon. Kaya lang siguro sa presentation na rin at sinasabi nga ng Meralco, babaguhin nila yung presentation kasi parang hindi malinaw. So in other words, may pinagbatayan pa yun pong mga dati ng rules. Pero sa ngayon po, dahil nakita natin yung leksyon at sabi naman sa rules ng ERC, dapat rin equitable. So, ngayon tinitingnan naman namin yung amendments taking into account the situations under a COVID-19 pandemia. Yun po naman yung tinitingnan namin.
Mr. Chair, just to follow up, so kailan po ba talaga, kanina sinasabi ng Meralco na nag-reading na ba ngayon? Mako-correct na ba yung reading ng March, tsaka April, tsaka May? Are they starting to read already or magsisimula pa lang ba silang magbasa sa June? Do we have actual readings already for March, April, and May?
Meralco?
Ako ba o Meralco ang sasagot?
I think Meralco, Ma'am Chair.
Ako na rin? Sige.
Sige, Ma'am Chair, you can go ahead.
Kasi on the basis of the presentation of Meralco and their commitment to us is that the meter readings have been ongoing since actually the early part of May, except in areas na hindi sila makapasok because the local government units usually prevent them from going into different areas. So yun. So that ang last reading nila was in February, ang kasunod na reading na ginawa nila was in May. So, yun yung i-compute nila para yun yung lalabas na yun yung consumption na hindi nila nabasa per the meter.
Okay. Thank you, Ma'am Chair. Can we also hear Meralco? Meralco, can you answer that?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question. For the month of April, we were only able to read close to 2% of our customers' bills. But for the month of May, with a couple of days to go still for the month to end, we have already read around 65% of our customers' bills, of our customers' meters.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, considering that, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, with that in mind, considering nakita natin, Ma'am Agnes, Chair Agnes, na medyo may kapalpakan or hindi naman kapalpakan, pero medyo hindi appropriate yung naging assumptions ng readings natin na nakita natin yung epekto. Talagang hindi siya makatotohanan na pagbasa ng totoong bill ng ating mga kababayan. So knowing this already, I know it's a lesson learned for everyone. COVID is something new, pero nakita na natin na mali yung assumption model na ginamit ng Meralco when it comes to this. So marami po doon sa ating mga kababayan na kahit wala sila sa tahanan nila, napakalaki ng bill nila. Hindi ba sila pwedeng i-excuse na wag munang magbayad dito considering alam nating mali yung naging assumption doon sa bill nila? Aminado naman yung Meralco doon sa pinresent nila kanina na may mga kababayan tayo na talagang wala namang ginamit, pero dahil nga average yung kanilang na nasa probinsya pero lumabas pagkalaki-laki ng bill nila. But why are we compelling them to pay kung mali naman talaga yung assumption na ginamit in reading their bills?
Una po, we have required Meralco, even that's included in our advisory, that the reading must not be any later than June 8. And in fact, they have started to read already. Kasi doon ho sa aming DISOR na tinatawag, yung rules na yon, while pinapayagan ng ERC yung average of the past 3 months prior to the calamity, or ngayon, pandemic, ang nakalagay din ho naman, they must immediately correct that through actual meter reading. And second is that because of all this, the advisory and our talks with the Meralco, they have already announced that the consumers must wait for the corrected bill.
Okay.
Kasi yung po yung ating hinahabol, di po ba? Hindi ganito yung aking dapat na bill. Hindi ganito yung dapat kong konsumo. Wala nga ako dun sa bahay na ito. So, ang sinabi naman po ng Meralco, they will be sending the corrected bill with explanation. Paano nakuha ito, paano ito kinumpute, at ano lang dapat ang bayaran. Pero kung ang mahirap po dyan is kung ang hinahanap natin, actual reading nung March, April, baka hindi na ho natin mababalikan yon. So the nearest to that, yun ho yung nire-require natin sa Meralco. At yun ho, ang sabi nila na yon ang dapat nakasama sa bill na ipapaliwanag nila. So discarded na yung matataas nating bill kasi maghihintay tayo ng bagong computation.
Okay, sorry madam. Sorry, madam, nalito lang ako. Ano ibig sabihin ng hindi na mababalikan yung March and April? Ano pong ibig?
Meter reading.
So hindi na magkakaroon ng actual reading for March and April? Ganun po ba yan?
Hindi, kasi hindi na nga nakapag-reading noon dahil they were prevented, di po ba? Kaya ang sinabi natin sa Meralco, at sinabi naman nila, meron silang konting nabasa na meters nung April. Ngayon, sa ating advisory, ang sinabi naman natin, hindi dapat, not any later than June 8, lahat dapat mabasa na.
Okay, alright. Yun lang po yung gusto ko namin.
Lahat tayo ang gusto natin on the basis of the meter reading, di po ba? Ang bills.
Okay, yes. Last question na lang, Mr. Chair. Gusto ko lang linawin si Meralco. In your presentation kanina, sinabi nyo kasi refund or credit. Will this be as soon as possible? Or ano ba talaga? Refund ba or credit? Or parehas lang yun sa language ninyo kasi babawas lang sa bill nila? What is really intent? Kasi ayoko lang ng gray area. I-refund nyo ba siya? Or ibabawas nyo lang doon sa bill nila? Ayoko kasi na may or eh. Diba? Maganda kung ano ba talagang balak nyo. Will you refund them? Or will you just deduct it doon sa kanilang bill on that month? Or hindi nyo naman siguro i-installment ito kung i-refund nyo, complete refund or complete credit. I want to really know kasi ayoko na may or. Mahirap yon. Dapat alam ng ating mga kababayan exactly what Meralco will do.
Yes, Meralco, please respond.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you for that question. The customer's option is to get a refund in the Meralco Business Center. And kung hindi ho siya kumuha ng refund sa Meralco Business Center, pwede rin ho natin i-credit yan sa future bill ng customer.
Pero buo, sir. Buo naman. Hindi naman yung i-installment yung refund or yung pag-credit.
Yes, ma'am. Whatever is the amount that is due to the customer for refund, we can give that back in full in the Meralco Business Center po.
Okay, thank you very much. So maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. At least we are assured now that we can tell our consumers that ignore mo muna nila lahat ng bill na natanggap nila at hintayin yung bagong bill bago magbayad. Tama po ba yun, Mr. Chair? Yun po yung nakuha ko na mensahe dito, that we will ignore all previous billings and wait for the new bill before any of us will pay our Meralco bill. Tama po ba?
Yes, Honorable Herrera, Meralco to answer, but I think that was also the one that was also suggested during the GCEC, and I think Meralco has already answered that they no one will be paying it until they receive the bills which already has the actual reading. Is that correct, Meralco?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that is correct. Wait for the actual bill that has the meter, a meter that has been actually read.
Okay.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ma'am Agnes, and thank you po, Sir Meralco.
Yes, before we proceed to the next interpellator, can I just ask Meralco, as a follow-up to Honorable B.H. Herrera's query a while ago, can I just make a suggestion, actually, not a question, but a suggestion to Meralco? Because next time you send a bill, which actually has the actual reading, can you just indicate in the bill that it says there, actual bill, actual meter read, something like that. You just have to indicate para hindi maguluhan yung mga consumers natin. Can you just like a stamp on the bill saying that the meter has been actually read, so that we already know which bill are we really supposed to pay? Meralco?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Actually, in the Meralco May bills that have been actually read since we last spoke last Friday, all these bills now have been accompanied by letters to say that this May bill or May meter has been actually read. And this is going to be applied to the 4 or 6 month installment as prescribed by the ERC. So we attach it, sir, in a separate letter.
Okay, but that applies only to the 65% already that has already been actually read, no? Because you said a while ago it's only 65% that you have done a reading, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, thank you, Meralco. Proceeding, may I now recognize Honorable Adrian Ebcas.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, colleagues in Congress, Madam Chair of PRC, resource persons, and to all of you. Narinig ko to sa Meralco last week until this week sa news na may lumalabas na the bill shock could have been avoided with the installation of smart meters by Meralco. Ang tanong ko, approve na ba ito sa IRC?
Agnes, if you can answer that.
Mr. Chair, actually, there are applications, meter type approval applications for smart meters, and some of these applications have been approved. Now, it's not really Meralco applying. It's those who are dealing with smart meters that are applying for meter type approval. So if they are the suppliers of Meralco, they must be supplying these smart meters already. But we do the type approval, Mr. Chairman. So the answer is yes, we have approved some of the applications that have been filed for smart meters.
Yes, Honorable Ebcas. Please unmute your mic, Honorable Ebcas.
Mr. Chair, follow-up lang ito sa tanong ko.
Yes, of course. Please proceed.
Yung cost ba sa smart meters to be passed on to the consumers?
Yung pong...
Ma'am Chair?
Sorry. Kasi binibili po ang meters po ba? Binibili ang meters. Pero we're very conscious about we are actually very conscious about the cost, and tinitingnan po natin, baka po ang sinasabi nyo yung malaking parang infrastructure. Kasi may iba-iba. Kung meter type lang approval, parang metro din lang yan. Just like what we have. Di ba mayroong meter deposit? So, ganyan din ho yan ang classification.
Yeah, ang ibig kong sabihin, yung sa meter type, yung sa consumers, yung meter reading na in-install sa bahay.
Kung yun naman yung cost, sige po.
Yung cost ba yan, ipapass on sa consumers?
Well, in a way, because ang ina-approve pa lang po natin is pilot, yung cost po ng smart meters will be part of the regulatory rate base. And also part of the distribution charge. So, and that's the reason why we are very meticulous in examining and making an evaluation of the smart meter type approvals. Ang nakita po naman na advantage kung meron lang hong smart meters installed, pero hindi pa nga tayo lahat smart meters ang inilalagay, hindi sana magiging problema yung hindi makapunta ang meter reader natin sa mga bahay-bahay. Because this, if you have the smart meters, they can be read remotely. Kahit doon lang sa opisina ng distribution utility, meron ho silang mechanism because there is a use of technology that the meters can be read from remotely, ang sabi niya. Kahit. So, hindi na kinakailangan pumunta mismo.
Yes, Honorable Evcas.
Yeah, naintindihan ko yun. Pag smart metering na ang ginagamit sa member consumers, of course, yung mga DSM cost, yung cost ng labor sa tao na nagbabasa, yung traveling expenses, gasoline expenses, natural mawala na yon. But since yung itong pinafile sa Meralco na cost metering, di ba, kanina tanong ko, is pass on ba ito sa consumers? Now, if this is pass on sa consumers, pwede pa malaman kung ano bang impact nito sa rate, more or less, average? Yung sa sinasabi mo, Madam Chairman, na inaprubahan nyo, na-actionan nyo, ano pa itong impact sa rate sa Meralco?
Yes, Ma'am Chair.
Ito po ang mga under evaluation namin. Kasi yung meter type approval na sinasabi namin, ito yung technical, no? Pero as to the rate, kasi hindi kasama naman ito sa pag-determine ng rate, wala po talagang impact in that sense.
Okay. So, Mr. Chair, yun lang ang clarification or tanong ko kasi itong Meralco, nung last week until now, binabanggit nila. Ulitin ko na sana walang problema sa estimated billing kung nagkaroon tayo ng smart metering sa consumers. So yun lang ang katanungan ko, Mr. Chair. Madam, salamat sa sagot. Very informative. Thank you. Thank you.
Salamat.
Thank you, Honorable Evcas. You, Chair Agnes. Definitely, this meter should be pushed and encouraging Percy to approve a lot of those smart meters to be implemented by our DUs. Next on our list of interpellators, I recognize Honorable Bong Suntay. Yes.
Hi, Mr. Chair.
Honorable Suntay.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
Yeah. First question ko kay Sec Agnes na lang muna. Kasi, Ma'am Agnes, as you mentioned earlier, yung ginamit na formula ng Meralco for billing their customers for this months covered by the ECQ period is a formula which is being used pag may mga may mga short-term calamities or mga pang isa, 2 linggong problema, di ba?
Opo.
Yung averaging. But as we saw that hindi siya tutugma or uugma kung long-term yung calamity like what happened to us now dito because of the COVID pandemic. And when I say na hindi talaga tutugma, it's because of yung outpouring ng shock doon sa mga customers ng Meralco who received their billing for May, and more so for both residential and commercial establishments na kagaya yung commercial establishment. As we all know, during the months covered by the ECQ, marami yung mga non-essential businesses were closed. But they were receiving billing for the months na sarado sila because averaging yung ginamit. Meron din tayong mga ibang kababayan na inabutan ng quarantine sa probinsya or sa ibang lugar, so walang tao sa bahay nila, kaya nagulat sila kung bakit may kuryente o electric bill na dumarating sa kanila, sinisingil sa kanila for a certain months like yung March and April. Now, we don't know kung after, di ba, ngayon mag-GCQ nga tayo, but we don't know. Pagka dumating yung tinatawag na second wave, baka mag-utos ulit si Pangulo na, isara natin ulit, and this might happen again. Are you already preparing a new formula that can be used if ever mangyari itong hindi nating inaasahan?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Kong. Yung pong tama po kayo doon, nung ginawa kasi nga yung ating rules on what should be used in cases of calamity, hindi pa naisip, nobody knew, nobody expected a situation like the COVID-19. So because of this, we are now looking into the rules, and in fact, we have already some proposals on the amendment of the rules so that it's going to be equitable. But as we see it, kung ano ho yung aming nailagay sa advisory namin, yun ho rin yung iba naming tinitingnan. But anyway, Mr. Chairman, Congressman, ito hong amendment sa aming rules will have to be subjected to public consultation so that we can get all the inputs. Doon naman ho sa sinasabi nyo, yung tungkol sa commercial at saka industrial, kasi nagsarado sila. Kunyari, mga factories, nagsarado sila. Pero bakit magkakaroon sila ng average billing based on the average of the past 3 months or based on the minimum, on the guaranteed minimum? Kasi po, itong mga commercial at industrial, they have a different contract with their distribution utility, and they have what we call guaranteed minimum billing demand. Dahil malalaki ho yung nilalagay doon na electrical facilities, so dapat mag-guarantee ho sa distribution utility na talagang ang konsumo nila will not be, or ang babayaran nila will not be any lower than that. Well, we are happy to know from Meralco that actually they have set aside this guaranteed minimum billing demand, and instead they will bill these industrial and commercial institutions on the basis of actually consumed electricity. So that was the decision of Meralco po.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, to you again. So ang ibig,
yes, please proceed.
Ibig sabihin nito, Sec Agnes, actual billing. So yung last billing, yung last billing na kanilang nakuha na may actual meter reading, ang gagawin nun ay i-add yung itong billing naman na makukuha nila ngayong let's say kunyari nakapag meter reading ngayon May or June, tapos nung i-average nila for the months covered. Tama ba? Ganun yung mangyayari?
Siguro mas maganda magpaliwanag yung Meralco kasi
okay, yeah. Sige yung Meralco.
Sige, Ma'am Chair, let's ask Meralco. Let's ask Meralco to respond. Meralco, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So as explained ho earlier, what we're going to do is importante ho makapag-meter read ang Meralco. Yan ang magiging basihan kung ano ba talaga yung actual consumption niya. Kung nakapag-estimate ho tayo ng March and April and ang lumabas ho is the last meter reading was in Feb, ang makukuha lang ho niyang consumption is your May reading less your Feb reading, you will have consumption. Tatanggalin ho natin yung inestimate natin ng March and April and makukuha mo ho yung netong amount. By that formula ho, we can guarantee ho na kung nakapagbasa na tayo ng Metro, customers will only be billed for what they actually consume.
Okay. Now, ano yung when you say that they will only be billed for what they actually consume, kasi kunyari walang consumption on particular months dahil totally sarado, like kunyari April and March. Pero di ba pagka nagbigay tayo ng billing, meron tayong sinasama diyan transmission charges, system loss, distribution charges, subsidies. So, ibig sabihin, wala rin dapat yun. Hindi lang yung actual kilowatt consumed, di ba? Ang tatanggalin.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So, pagka nabasahan na ho natin yung metro ng isang customer ng May, for example, and nakita natin na ang reading niya is 1,600 as an example. And ang reading ho nung Pebrero, yung last reading niya, 1,600. Ang makukuha nung customer is a reading of 0, pero na-overestimate natin siya ng March and April kasi nagpadala ho tayo ng mga bill sa kanya. Ang lalabas ho sa bill niya ng Mayo, may negative amount siya. May option ho yung customer. Pwede niya kung kunin yung refund niya sa Meralco Business Center or pwede niya kung i-apply yung amount na yun for his future bill. Magbabalanse ho siya.
So yung negative amount na yon would be based doon sa April, sa March and April na maling reading, tama? Yung total amount nun.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And then last question, Mr. Chairman, clarification lang dahil as I mentioned, madami sa atin mga kababayan ang na-shock dahil doon sa taas ng bill, and Meralco has sent an explanation kung bakit ito nangyari. Now for mas na-shock dahil kagaya sa example na binigay ko, whether it be residential, commercial, or industrial establishments, doon sa mga lugar na nawalan ng tao, hindi nag-operate yung negosyo o yung bahay walang tao during this period. Now, kung as mentioned earlier, kung nakapagbayad sila ngayong Mayo, i-refund sila or i-credit sa mga darating na billing. Tama, Mr. Enlino, di ba? Pero kung hindi pa sila nakakapagbayad, so maghihintay sila ng actual reading at actual billing nyo. So meron kayo ngayon padadala ulit bago na billing sa kanila. Tama ba?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Oh, sorry, Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir, that is correct.
Go ahead.
So they can disregard, kunyari may natanggap silang billing ngayong Mayo, they can completely disregard it at maghintay na lang sila na without fear na mapaputulan sila ng kuryente for not paying.
Meralco?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, they can disregard their estimated bill and wait until they have been actually read. That will reflect their true consumption po.
Okay. So, ibig sabihin nito, lahat ng customer nyo, basta nabigyan nyo na kunyari ng billing, kung hindi pa nagbabayad yung ibang customer, magkakaroon ng actual reading ulit ang mga kawani ng Meralco and they will send another bill. Electric bill. Tama?
Yes, that is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Suntay. Before we proceed to the next interpellator, can I just clarify lang para maintindihan rin ng lahat? Because nasya-shock rin talaga tayo sa mga bills natin. Definitely, Meralco, syempre, last time you guys checked the meter was sometime in March, no? Before the lockdown. Is that true? Is that correct?
We were able to meter read, Mr. Chairman, in Feb, and some of them before ECQ in March.
Yes. So let's talk about those that have been read before the ECQ. So last time was before the ECQ, and then the next reading that you will be able to make is the May, ano? May na. This May period, tama?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, kasi ang nagiging problema natin is nag-estimate tayo ng March and April. I think May na rin. Papasok na sa estimation yan because we're waiting for the actual meter read. So, ang sinasabi ko lang, when you guys read the meter nung before ECQ, next meter read nyo na, hindi nyo na you guys cannot estimate anymore the bills for you guys cannot get the actual meter yung meter read nyo for the months of April and May, di ba? Am I correct? So parang na-lump sum na siya all together for the May bill or June bill. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
So in other words, talagang when the bill comes, yung na actual meter read na natin, you cannot already chop it off into actual read ng March, April at May. And you just get that lump sum for those months na cover nung quarantine natin. Tama?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. You will only see the value of your current reading minus your previous reading. In this case was February.
Exactly. So which would be the same thing also for our water readings. Yung pag-calculate nila ng mga bills natin would be the same because they weren't able to do the meter readings during March, April, May. So two figures lang ang nakikita ng utilities natin, which would be the one pre-ECQ and one post-ECQ. So para lang malaman ng mga consumers natin na ganun ang pagre-read niyan. Kaya definitely medyo shocking rin talaga yung bill because as we've said, we've been in the house for the longest time. Nakaipit tayo dyan. Summer pa, so mainit. So mas lalaki yung consumption. So ganun yung nangyari dyan. And I would like to commend Meralco and hopefully yung sinabi nga ni Honorable Suntay na yung mga tao para ma-clear lang, no? Para wala tayong gulo, Meralco will be sending the bill na actually read. And hopefully Meralco would indicate doon mismo na actually read. I think we have to put it in clear letters, clear indication na actual read bill. Para alam natin, walang confusion na yun talaga yung babayaran nating bill. Tama, Meralco?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. So proceeding, we've got our last two interpellators. We have Honorable Guya. If Honorable Guya.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you and magandang hapon sa lahat. Especially sa ating maganda at magiting na chairman ng ERC. Now, my question, Mr. Chair, is directed to Meralco. I may proceed, Mr. Chair? Now,
of course, please proceed.
According to your data here, which was taken from your website, yung bilateral contract power suppliers ng Meralco ay 12 po. Am I correct? There are 12 power suppliers.
Meralco, please respond.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will double check that, but that's around that number po.
And 13 po yung WSM.
WSM po is isa sa pinagkukuhanan namin ng kuryente, tama po.
Okay. So there are 13 suppliers of Meralco. Now, tanong ko lang po sa generation charge ng Meralco. Ilang percent po ba sa buong rate ng Meralco yung generation charge?
More or less po, nasa 50%.
50%. Okay.
Around 55 po. 55%,
55.
sorry.
Okay? Now, generation charge is may tatlong component po yung generation charge. Am I correct, Mr. Chair? The capacity,
please proceed.
The variable O&M at saka fixed operation and maintenance. Am I correct, Meralco?
Meron po sa mga power supplier sa power supply agreements po namin, ang generation cost ay may fixed capacity payment, fixed O&M at saka variable O&M po.
Now, Mr. Chair, my concern is about the variable O&M. Kasi di ba dito yung fuel ng mga generators natin binibili, no? And also maybe I will also address baka pwedeng magsagot yung taga-generators dyan. During the pandemic, bumaba yung demand ng mga utilities by an average of 30%. So meaning to say, the fuel consumption of these generators dapat bumaba rin. Am I right?
You want to address this to Meralco, Honorable Guya?
Yes.
Meralco, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair, tama po.
Now, kasi dito, Mr. Chair, yung Meralco kasi, noong April, ang kanyang rate is, generation charge is 4 pesos and 63.85 centavos per kilowatt hour. And ngayong May, 4 pesos, 4.3848 pesos per kilowatt hour. So bumaba po siya ngayong May. Noong April, siyempre kasagsagan ng pandemic yon. Bumaba yung demand ng mga utilities kasi nag-shutdown lahat yung mga malalaking kumpanya natin. What is left are only the residential consumers.
Pero March supply.
Yeah. So, I'm quite, parang ako nagtataka dito, Mr. Chairman, bakit nung pandemic, mataas yung presyo ng Meralco by 15, 0.1537 pesos per kilowatt hour as compared to May. Now, my concern here, Mr. Chair, is maybe I will address this to our chairman ng ERC. Madam, are there people monitoring the variable O&M of these power suppliers? Kasi malaking bagay po ito na kung wala nakatingin nito, medyo talagang mataas yung presyo ng generation charge. Because to me, Mr. Chairman, the 55% generation charge to the total rate of the customer, talaga mataas yan. Kaya siguro, if I may ask our ERC chairwoman, if ERC monitoring the variable O&M of our generators.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, we have actually required Meralco to submit to us certain documents because we have a specific unit in ERC which monitors this. So based on the basis of the submission, we do monitor and we come out with our own findings, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Guya.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, kasi if you are going to compute yung difference nila ng April at saka May, mayroon po siyang 0.1537 pesos per kilowatt hour. If you are going to multiply this by the total sales of Meralco for the month of May is 2,541,255,700 kilowatt hours, 780 kilowatt hours. If we are going to multiply this by the difference of 0.1537 pesos per kilowatt hour, revenue, mayroon pong 390 billion pesos po na nakolekta ni Meralco. Yung difference, no? Noong April. Kasi mas mataas yung April. So I think ERC should look at on this Kasi I am concerned about the variable O&M, Mr. Chairman. Especially on the fuel. Kasi bumaba yung fuel. Yung price ng fuel bumaba rin. So that's my concern, Mr. Chairman. Kaya medyo itong 55% na generation charge ng Meralco is, I think we should look at on this, Madam Chair ng ERC.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you for that suggestion, and that will be considered when we do the evaluation, because there's really a unit in charge of monitoring, Your Honors.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. And itong capacity recovery fee, Madam Chairwoman, I know you are a good lawyer. Sa PSA yan, bumaba naman yung demand. Saka yung generator po, hindi po umaandar ng full. Kaya hindi naman po siya nagtatrabaho ng talagang as required kasi bumaba yung demand ng kuryente natin. Baka po pwedeng mapag-usapan. And I agree with Congressman Daguok that you might middle with between the GenCos and the electric or the DIOs para naman po pakinggan yung hinaing, yung appeal ng mga electric consumers. Baka po pwede ibaba natin yung CRF. Ay alam namin yan, CRF yan po yung pangbayad nila sa kanilang nautangan sa bangko para magtayo ng planta. Pero ngayong pandemic kasi, baka pwede po natin mapag-usapan. Yun lang po, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat po at magandang hapon po.
Thank you. Ma'am Agnes, if you can respond to that.
Well, as we have said before, the peculiarity of the situation of ERC is that it is a quasi-judicial body. So we cannot be representing, we cannot intervene in a negotiation, but we do encourage negotiations between the parties, and the feedback that we gathered is that the parties have really come to not just better terms but best terms, but they have to sit down and start a negotiation. Should there be a real problem, why not? ERC will be happy to listen to them.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Guya, if you're... yes, Meralco.
Mr. Chair, pwede po bang
yes.
makasagot sa query ni...
Yes, please, go ahead. Go ahead.
Tama po si Congressman Guya no, dun so far dun sa rate na sinabi niya sa April at saka doon sa May generation charge ng Meralco. Gusto ko lamang po ipaliwanag. Yung April bill po kasi ng Meralco, ang kino-cover niyan ay March na supply. So for the March po, 10 days lang po ang naapektuhan nung pandemic doon ng ECQ. So that's the reason po kaya maliit yung binaba ng generation charge namin from March to April. Pero nung April po, buong buwan na po ng April ang nasakop ng ECQ, kaya po yung May generation charge namin, ni-reflect na po yung buong, yung mas malaking reduction ng generation charge. Yung sa fuel po na sinasabi ni Congressman Guya, tama po siya, dito po sa kaso ng Meralco, ang fuel po ay hindi namin binabayaran kung hindi naman namin ginamit ang kuryente, no? Kung hindi naman nakonsumo ang kuryente ng mga consumers. At sa amin po sa Meralco, nag-claim po kami ng force majeure sa lahat ng aming power suppliers. At for the month of April nga po ay umabot ito ng 129 million. The fixed cost reduction sa generation charges na nag-benefit naman po yung consumers doon para sa buwan po ng Abril. Para naman po sa buwan ng Mayo, ang binaba po nito umabot ng 877 million in reduction in fixed charges sa amin pong mga power supply agreements. Yung mga fuel po tsaka BOM, hindi na po yun nasama sa billing kasi naman po hindi naman po yun nasingil kung hindi naman po tumakbo yung planta o nabawasan naman po yung planta. Nabawasan din po ang singil doon sa variable O&M at saka po sa fuel. Yun lang po. Salamat po.
Thank you, Meralco. Yes, Honorable Guya, if that would be
Mr. Chair, and that is why I am asking the Honorable Chairwoman of ERC to kindly look into this issue about the variable o unlimited share because dito naglalaro yung presyo ng kuryente. So dapat mabonitor natin po yan para naman yung true cost of generation talaga ang naiipasto natin doon sa mga consumers po natin. Salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Guya. And for our last interpellator, may I now recognize Vice Chairman Hector Sanchez.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Oh.
Yes, please proceed.
Yes. And to our distinct colleagues and to all our resource person. First, I would like to commend and thank you to all participants who explained very well. And my first question is, what is to ERC? What is the accuracy allowed or approved accuracy percentage setting of electric meter that we are using in the country? How many percent, plus or minus?
Yes, Honorable Chair. Agnes?
Mr. Chair, may I refer the question to my Executive Director for the technical side? She's here.
Yes. What's the name, Madam Chair?
Director Digal.
Yes, Director Digal, please respond to Honorable Sanchez's query.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Your Honors. I unfortunately don't have the exact plus or minus percentage, but we are, of course, eyeing for as close as possible to the most accurate. It should be 0, Your Honor. But I think there is some kind of a percentage of plus minus. I just have to get the figure, sir.
Honorable Sanchez?
Yes. Mr. Chair, if the accuracy setting of emitter, let's say more than 103%, now the electric cooperative or the utility maybe is charging more than the consume of the electric meter.
Yes, addressed to Honorable Sanchez.
Yes,
Chair.
addressed to ERC.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Your
Ma'am
Honors.
Chair Agnes.
Mr. Chair, Your Honors.
Digal, yes.
Yes.
Yes, Ma'am Digal, please
I now
proceed.
have the figures, Your Honor. For our existing rules, the accuracy acceptable will be plus or minus 2% for meters.
Okay, plus or minus 2%. Now, my next question is that is considered for every revolution of the meter, correct?
Your Honors, we have to qualify the plus or minus 2% for meters are not for new meters po. We have a more stringent requirement when it comes to new meters. It's now at positive or negative 0.05%, Your Honor. That's why my initial statement really earlier was just it's close to 0 already. So for new meters, we are requiring a range of plus or minus negative 0.5. For the existing meters, or which are presumably the old ones, it's the plus or minus 2% that will apply.
So
Yes.
ito pong metrong inallow nyo o inapprove is ito yung lahat na nakakabit sa buong Pilipinas, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. And in fact, Your Honor, we conduct spot audits of and inspection of those meters to ensure that they are accurate, Your Honor.
So bago po ito ikabit, di ba, meron tayong silyo na inalalagay, ERC seal and also the utility seal, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Chair, we confirm that before a meter is installed to service a particular customer, it should be bearing the ERC seal, Your Honors.
So considering that this is a residential meter, how about those are now with multiplier?
The requirement, Your Honor, applies to all types of meters, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
So including the demand charge, meaning you have the full scale reading of a commercial meter, correct?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
So going back, may I know in your records how many percent of smart meter are already installed? Average, more or less in our country.
Your Honors, if we may just submit the figures, Your Honor. Unfortunately, we don't have the figures for today, Your Honor. But we have, I think, an
please submit
inventory
those
of the
figures,
smart meters.
Ms. Tigan.
Okay. Yes, Your Honor. We will, Your Honor.
Okay. Are you requiring for a commercial meter, the one with electronics, or we call that the net metering?
We have existing net. Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Chair. We have our existing net metering rules also.
Okay. So that is only for consumers. How about the power or substation metering now for NGCP and also for the generation meter?
I will, Mr. Honor, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, I believe for those kind of meters, we likewise have existing rules on how to check and validate their accuracy, Your Honor.
Okay, because this has been to do in connection with, you know, the installation which kanina nabanggit, I think from your side, na not necessary na pupuntahan pa isa-isa ang metro para i-reading because you have now this electronics metering, correct?
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
Now, just to another question on a technical side, you can by using this net metering, you have this CTPT connected with relays, which is you can easily disconnect the power, correct?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, some disconnection may be affected remotely, Your Honor.
Remotely, okay. So would you please give us per ERC record, or maybe you can ask to DOE, what are those already net metered installed, especially on our transmission or distribution nationwide, because we want to know, the House or the August body wants to know all the records for our review.
Okay, maybe, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, may we just be given time to submit the required documents and information, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Another question, going back to the report of ex-Congressman Colmenares. Do you have these records that was mentioned, the refund, that was the decision coming from Supreme Court, and also the overcharging and the Malampaya funds, which I think the consumers now is enjoying. Can you please submit that record if that is already refunded or only portion is refund.
Yes,
We will
may I
submit,
ask
Your
former
Honor.
Congressman? No, no, I think that question was also directed to former. Am I correct, Honorable Sanchez? Is that directed to former Congressman Nery Colmenares?
Well, yes, and also to ERC because they are the one.
ERC, they have the
yes.
documents. Yes, for all the requirements being asked by Honorable Sanchez, please submit to this committee copies of those documents that were asked for.
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Honorable Sanchez, can I'd also want to direct that question to former Congressman Honorable Nery Colmenares.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, well, actually, yes, the Supreme Court decision in that case in 2003 is totaled about 30.2 billion. There have been questions in the ERC previously, not under the current ERC Chair de Banadera, about this, but there was no reply, and we wanted to find out because Meralco announces a 1.2 billion refund, and we haven't heard of a Meralco announcement of a 30.2 billion peso refund. So maybe the Meralco is here. They would surely remember if they refunded 30.2 billion. And secondly, if they claim that they have already refunded the 30.2 billion, we would like to request the ERC, of course, if ERC can audit this. But just in case Meralco hasn't refunded it yet, that's a lot of help, Mr. Chair, kasi pag binalik mo yan by June, maraming tanong sa atin kanina masosolve kasi hindi nababayaran muna ng taong bayan ang mga bills nila, at least yung 200 kilowatt-hour consumption, ay mababawas na doon sa refund na yon ng Meralco, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Colmenares. Which is actually very timely regarding the refund. May we be enlightened also if Meralco can answer that? Meralco, if you can respond regarding
yes.
that refund.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Concerning po the 30 plus billion refund that was ordered by the Supreme Court, as mentioned by Mr. Former Congressman Colmenares. Kami po we submit a status report to the Energy Regulatory Commission regularly. So based on our latest submission, we have refunded almost or more than 28 billion pesos already, and about 2.3 billion remains unrefunded. At naka-report po iyan sa Energy Regulatory Commission at nagko-comply po kami sa sinasabi ng Energy Regulatory Commission na i-deposito ito sa
So this refund, when did Meralco start refunding this 30 billion overcharging?
Upon finality of the decision of the Supreme Court, Your Honor, I think that was in 2004. 2004. Sorry.
Yes, 2004.
Yeah, 2003, 2004. I will have to go back to the records for that, Your Honor, to confirm. But it's sometime between that period.
Yes, but this refund that is being mentioned by former Congressman Nery Colmenares, this was overcharged what year? 2003?
1998, but there was a
somewhere in the year 19 something.
Yes, there was a decision
can I just
Energy Regulatory Board at the time, and then it was elevated to the Supreme Court, and the decision came only in 2003, if I'm not mistaken. So that was the time when that decision became final that we started refunding. So the ERC
thank you, Meralco.
Guidelines on that, sir.
Can we just ask ERC Chair Agnes to actually look at the refunds being made by Meralco and make sure that these refunds really reach our consumers who are entitled to said refunds?
Yes,
Agnes?
yes, Your Honor. Mr. Chairman. Actually, what is being discussed is a corporate income tax refund that is that was directed by the Supreme Court in its ruling in 2003. So it must be in the 1990s that this corporate income tax came about as an issue. Now, we required Meralco to submit to us the reports on the refund. And as of right now, the amount that is unrefunded because Meralco could not locate. They said that they're not able to locate the consumers anymore, amount to about 2 billion. The next process that ERC should be doing is really to file an S-chit proceeding, and that we manifested to the to both houses during the budget hearing that we would need filing fees and for us to be able to initiate the S-chit proceedings. And we were granted by both houses. Well, of course, it started with the House of Representatives to an amount to cover the filing fees. However, it is considered a CI because it was not included in our regular. And as we know, there is now a policy that all CIs all congressional initiative can no longer be availed of. So we have to put off the filing of the SCHID proceeding, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, who's raising their hands?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, who's this? Sorry, I can't see.
Congressman
Honorable Colmenares. Yeah. Yes,
Mr.
please
Chair.
proceed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. There are many kinds of fund being asked, and this 30.2 billion, Mr. Chair, took a long time, of course, to process. And now, sabi ng Meralco, hindi na namin mahanap kasi ang tagal eh. Kaya ngayon, hindi mag-benefit ang consumers. Maybe, Mr. Chair, there should be an independent audit on these refunds, Mr. Chair. We're not just talking of this particular refund. There have been many other refunds. No? Ina-announce lang naman ng Meralco yan. Ano? Secondly, Mr. Chair, itong 2 billion plus na hindi pa nila na-refund, na sabi nila, kung totoo na yun na lang ang natira, pwede naman nang magamit sana ngayon yan, ano? For me, ano, doon sa condonation na hinihingi, Mr. Chair. Other than that, of course, as I mentioned kanina, merong mga charges. The ERC Commissioner may sinasabi siyang 40 to 50 billion pesos na overcharging ng Meralco. At yung 29.6 billion naman na petisyon sa ERC. Malaking bagay po ito kung petisyonan agad, Mr. Chair. Kasi that's really a huge amount na pwede talagang magamit ngayon, Mr. Chair.
I agree. I think the Honorable Chair Agnes should look into this, and if we can actually get a quick decision already on the petitions filed with the ERC. Madam Chair.
We will do that, Your Honor, on the point of the income tax refund, because that's very clear, and there is a Supreme Court decision. We have to have some legal basis to require Meralco to directly refund, because the process under the law is that we should be filing the S-chit so that it will go to the government. But we will study that, Your Honor.
Meralco has any comments on that?
With regard to the S-chit, Your Honor, we will just abide by what the ERC will direct us with respect to the unrefunded 2.3 billion. But just to emphasize, Your Honor, since the finality of the decision pa lang po, 2003, finality of the Supreme Court decision, kami po sa Meralco ay nag-a-announce na, no, because we were required to announce to the public, to those who are entitled to refund may claim the refund. No? So continuous naman po yung process na yon. It's just that for the 2.3 talagang wala nang naki-claim sa amin ng refund, kaya po may naiwang 2.3 billion. So yan naman po ay nire-report sa Energy Regulatory Commission.
If I may, Mr.
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. So that's one issue, no? The second issue that I mentioned kanina, yung problema naman natin is outside the Meralco franchise, no? Oh, by the way, before going outside the Meralco franchise, I don't know if this happened in the provinces, pero during the ACQ pala, may mga brownouts, and we experienced that, no? Brownouts for lasting 4 to 5 hours several times. Maybe matanong din ang komite, ang Meralco at ang NGCP. Agreed, kasi is it a question of hindi ko alam kung anong reason ng Meralco, may naputol na kuryente, or is it the capacity of the grid, no? During these times, no? So, but second to that, Mr. Chair, yung nabanggit ko kanina na para sa mga non-profit electric cooperatives, yung condonation sana matakil talaga ng komite, kasi as I mentioned kanina, magandang matanong ang BTR, but the facts I mentioned kanina about the 249 billion pesos as at end of December 2018, galing yan sa National Expenditures Program ng gobyerno for the 2020 GAA. So I'm sure, we're all sure it's correct. Now you have 249 billion pesos and you count the 2019 revenue of 29.6 billion pesos. Mr. Chair, ang sabi ko nga kanina, ang estimated total na nun is 275 billion pesos. So malaking tulong sana ito sa electricity consumers kasi energy-related activities ito. So sana maungkat yan at mai-deliver na yan kasi kahit mag-condone sa Meralco sa mga consumers niya dito, ano na yun, parang balik niya lang yung mga dating tubo niya. I mean, Meralco had a 22.3 billion net core profit in 2019, no? So at least pati sana ang mga nasa probinsya rin magkakaroon din ng alibyo dito sa nangyaring pandemic, lalo na ang taas ng babayaran nila. Sabi nga kanina sa hearing na to, ang matanggap nila sa May, yun na pala ang accumulation ng kanilang mga consumption ng March and April and May. Grabe po yan. I am very, very worried na maraming hindi makakabayad at sabi ko nga kanina, impasse yan eh. So anong gagawin mo niya? Puputulan. Komplikado yan pag pinutulan mo, di ba? So maybe the committee can really intervene on this para hindi tayo umabot sa very serious and complicated situation na hindi mabayaran ng ang kuryente pero naniningil naman ang mga DUs. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Colmenares. Specifically, that's why even during the GCEC hearing, I specifically requested Meralco na for those bills falling within the quarantine period, if failure to pay that, maybe they can actually consider of not cutting the electricity of our consumers. Yung meeting na natin na sir, and I would ask Meralco to consider that also. Looking also at the Malampaya funds, definitely this committee would look into that. Because as we know, there's still a huge balance left even after subtracting the Murang Kuryente Act. We'll look at that in cases of being able to answer for some of the electricity bills of our consumers. I'd also like to express my thanks to the electric cooperatives because mainly I think the electric cooperatives have taken amount in their coffers to be able to pay for those who are under the 50 kilowatt per hour or the lifeline consumers through their Pantawid Liwanag program. So I commend the ECs for doing that. Hopefully, I think I don't know if Meralco can also do that, but let's not just focus on Meralco, but let's also call out our private distribution utilities if they can actually, I mean, talking about all the private use all over the country, if they can also actually give that kind of a condonation to our lifeline consumers. And lastly, I think it's well taken that one of the things that could really help our consumers would be the speedy decision that the Supreme Court can give when it comes to the ARCOA. I also believe that if they approve the ARCOA already and if the TRO, then that would actually give the consumers a chance to choose which power generator that they can get their consumption from. So with that, I think the committee in the coming days would I guess would take cognizance of the Malampaya Fund and actually see what we can do with this fund in helping our kababayans in this time of crisis. If there are no more other matters, also before we proceed, I think Honorable Nograles would want to discuss something on other matters.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a bit of housekeeping because since our last hearing on House Resolution 161, which is on February 5, 2020, we have had multiple submissions with regards to the WESM. And particularly, it has already been established by the GCG that PEMC still remains to be a GOCC. The ERC in its latest submission as well clarified that the market transaction fees are granted only to PEMC and that IMAP has no provisional or any approval from the ERC with regards to market transaction fees in the WSM. Our committee is also in receipt of a letter from a board member of PEMC admitting that they did not follow the EPIRA or its IRR in the creation of IMAP. And the DOE also has not yet fully reported to us, even if they promised us through ASEC Ergiza that there will be a report. So perhaps, Mr. Chair, we can schedule a final hearing on 161, on House Resolution 161, or maybe even consider drafting already or creating a draft of the committee report on House Resolution 161 so that if there are any violations of law, particularly the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, we can forward the same to the Ombudsman. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Nograles. I think we should hear this one more time, mainly because there's still a pending submission from the DOE, requesting the DOE to already submit the same so that we can already start a hearing again on IMAP and the PENC. And lastly,
thank you, Mr. Chair, because the two issues really are, number one, whether PEMC is a GOCC and that if they followed the law in the creation of IMAP, which we have multiple evidence on the matter. And number two is IMAP in their collection of market transaction fees, is that legal, which we already have all the evidence saying that it isn't. So yes, 161 is really needed. Yung kulang na lang ho, Mr. Chair, honorable members, is whether or not the DOE will do something about this situation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Nograles. But before we end this committee hearing, may I just like to remind Meralco also, because I think there has already been consumers that have been charged already or has already paid their bills even though they haven't been actually read yet. So sana naman, looking at that refund, which took so long before it was refunded to our consumers, definitely for those that have paid at nag-overcharge naman, siguro naman medyo prompt yung pagka-refund ng Meralco dito sa ating mga consumers. Meralco?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you have our assurances.
Thank you, Meralco. So, in closing, I'd just like to say that the country is in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and our nation is battling not just the virus, but also struggling economically. So we really wanted to help our people who were dismayed at their shockingly high electricity bills. I think that we made significant headway in today's meeting by clarifying the cause of the spike in electricity bills during the ECQ and getting the commitment of Meralco, PhilReca, and the ERC, of course, DOE, that they're on top of the problem and will be taking the necessary steps to correct errors in billing and ultimately charging the households only for the actual electricity they consumed. In this meeting, we were able to get the assurance of Meralco that the consumers can disregard their estimated billings, which were questioned by many of its customers and also of our members, and that hopefully by June 8, Meralco will send another bill that is based on actual meter readings. In this correct billing, Meralco will indicate that the customer's meter had been read. Pending the delivery of accurate billing, the consumers do not need to pay yet, and Meralco assures that no disconnection of electricity will happen in case of unpaid billing during the ECQ. Now, if some customers have already paid the estimated billing and it resulted in overpayment, then the customer may opt to refund, and an assurance given today that they will be refunded immediately. We also welcome the news that the electricity bills may be paid in monthly installments. Thank you to ERC to further ease the burden of the consumers. 6 monthly payments for Lifeline customers, or 4 monthly equal payments for households using more than 200 kilowatt per hour per month. We also recognize that there is a need to balance the interests of the ordinary consumers with the difficulties and financial costs being borne by the generators and the electric cooperatives. Because at the end of the day, while we want to ease the burden of our citizens, we cannot sacrifice our power supply and must assure the continued operations of our generators and electric cooperatives. We thank everyone, especially my members and the resource persons, for your active participation and contribution to our hearing. In the coming days, let us continue our close coordination within the energy sector so that we can help each other in our united goal to ensure sufficient, affordable, and sustainable energy to our nation. So to my members, many thanks. To the resource persons, do I hear that motion?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Second. Here, second.
I second.
Thank you again, everyone. This committee hearing is hereby adjourned. Many thanks for your participation. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.